No, because
All right. God damn it.
Yeah,
Well,
I guess Cocktail was here.
yeah.
Right from the
Welcome.
top. That what he was doing.
It was so good,
I
you
thought, I
know.
thought we started in like 10 minutes time, so I was just sitting here. So
Yeah, I
jumped on.
decided.
Juice is on a good ramble. Right
Okay,
there.
so those that couldn't hear, I was basically saying how much I love Madden. Put 9 hours in the first 2 nights I had it, but as fun as that is,
It
like
was
I
so good that would be your game of the year last
would
year.
have been
That's really
easily top 3. It would have been in
Forget that.
contention.
Damn.
It's the best
That's
football
very
game I've
impressive.
ever played, and it's everything I loved about 2K. Plus,
What was the last one you played?
Madden 10 was the last Madden I played, and
Madden 10.
I thought it was good,
15 years.
Yeah.
this just it's so good. Like that, the way you can control your passes, the way you can read the defenses, the way you can run the ball effectively. If you know football, it worked like it. I can't imagine, playing at somebody who doesn't know how to really read defenses or understand play calling. You could probably find a broken play that works over and over, but it's so good. But the point was that after 2 straight nights of it, I needed to mix it up, and so I put on Expedition 33, and now 9 hours in that. I got 11 hours in Madden in about the same time frame, and it's like a perfect balance going back and forth. And that's what I was saying about watching T's video about the Switch launch, about a console launch. This isn't a console launch for me, but I thought it was a good example of having 2 completely different types of games that you both really like that you can go back and forth on. Because I probably could play Expedition 33 maybe from start to finish without switching, but earlier today I played for a couple hours. I want to get back to my season, play the next game in Madden. So I was like, I just think that's the takeaway, and whether people feel that for Switch too, if you played all the other games already, like pretty much I have, not all of them, but all the ones I'd be interested in outside of Mario Kart are games I've already played, from Street Fighter to Cyberpunk to Hogwarts. So those would be the top 3. So I think we could have a discussion without it's not about bashing Mario Kart, but for me, like, I don't have that game. Switch 2.
Have we said anything that we were?
Well, some people think that
bashing?
it's fine just to play Mario Kart. That's fine for you, but for me, like, I don't have that second game to play. So that's kind of where.
Well, but even with Switch 1, right? Like, we went back and forth with blast playing Fast Racing Neo. Like, that was a fantastic game. It would have been a fantastic game in its own way, but that wasn't enough. I wanted to go back to my adventure game. I wanted to go back to my Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, because I had barely
right?
touched
So it was,
Fast RMX since the initial month.
Yeah, I barely touched.
After the first month,
with Breath of the
I played
Wild.
I played a lot of it, and then I
played
haven't
it
touched
quite a bit.
But also I got
can't
Snake
remember,
Pass
like-
too in the
Oh yeah, Sneak Pass.
to try to fill out.
Pass, yeah,
to-
that's
Snake
right.
Pass,
So
right?
I wasn't
Snake Pass
just
is another
playing
one,
Zelda,
yeah.
constantly.
Yeah, I love Sneak Pass.
It was nice to
just
hop
feel
over
like
to
I
Snake
can't-
Pass.
I can't
It was nice to
honestly-
hop over to Snipper Clips. That was another
Yeah.
one I had a blast with.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't
definitely
remember
feel
like a
that you
console
need,
launch. Sorry, Rachel, go on.
Oh, go ahead,
Super
go ahead.
Bomberman R.
I didn't have that one. Though.
That
No,
didn't.
I was just gonna say I can't remember a console launch where I played just a single game. Like a single game was like enough to, even like with Breath of the Wild, like you said, we were Fast RMX, Snipper Clips, Snake Pass and stuff. It was all there in the mix. Even though Breath of the Wild was our main game, it took up most of our time.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I was gonna say I put
Juice
11
brought this- I
hours.
don't know what we were talking about.
Oh.
We were talking about GameCube or something, and I forgot how that came up. You were talking about what you got for GameCube's
Yeah, it was,
launch, and I was
comments
like,
of your
yeah.
video.
Because I had completely forgot, that the feeling that day of getting my GameCube home, playing a little bit of Luigi's Mansion, playing some. I had Madden, and I think I had what is it, Super Monkey Ball, and just going through and obviously I had Rogue Squadron as well. But even Rogue Squadron is like built for like not to run through it. Like you play a mission or two and you kind of leave it alone for a little bit. At least that's how I played it. And so I remember that night of having my GameCube, being like, "Oh man, I kind of don't really start these games that I started today," and I kind of wish there was like even like Star Fox Adventures would have been nice. You know, they have at GameCube's launch, we didn't have like a big adventure game, and that kind of soured me in the beginning. I remember.
Well, you
Think
made it
about
to
it
the
until
night. I didn't
brought
even
it up.
make it. It was still afternoon for
I made
me
it to the
when I
night,
got
at
through my
least.
3 games. I played a couple. I didn't have a memory card. I don't think I couldn't do. Well, Madden took up a whole memory card, so I didn't have.
Yeah,
I
I
couldn't
didn't even save for Madden that
I
day.
couldn't,
Though. Like, this is bullshit.
I couldn't. I had to decide. I just played some Expedition games, and then I played Rogue. It was Rogue Leader, wasn't it, on GameCube?
Yeah, Rogue Squadron 2.
Yeah. So I played Rogue Leader, and I played Super Monkey Ball, and then I played a couple Expeditions of Madden. I mean, within 2 hours, I was like, okay, well, that was anticlimactic. I was already kind of looking for another game to play. Like I was, just didn't have that compelling, suck me in kind of game. And actually,
I dragged my ass right back to my Dreamcast. I was like, all right, I'll go back to Dreamcast, play some 64, I guess.
I had a slightly different. I felt like Luigi's Mansion was my main launch game, and I didn't complete it as quick as some other people did. But that's because I think at the same time I had Wave Race Blue Storm and I had Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
The game was launched in Europe,
and disappointing too because the controls weren't as tight as the first one. I was like,
yeah, it wasn't as tight, but it was still a great game.
Anyway.
Yeah, you guys had different launch.
Yeah, we had like more games on the GameCube launch.
Yeah, you guys had different
stuff. Yeah, quite a lot. Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but I want to say it launched with Smash for us as something pretty big, at least compared to what you guys.
No, it didn't launch with Smash.
Something big.
And then the next big game we had from Nintendo was Pikmin, which I think came like a month or so after.
I did rent that right away.
Yeah, Pikmin came a month
before Pikmin, which we were all hyped for because of like stuff like Mario 128 when you go back to like the tech demos and stuff with all the 128 Marios rolling around on a disc and making them jump up and down. I loved that tech demo. When we first saw that, but
I can see Mario's
I remember the more realistic looking Sunshine. The first reveal of Sunshine, it looked almost like they were going for almost like a Sonic type look to it. It looked more realistic.
There was people like humans instead of those ugly ass Piantas.
The Piantas are cool. The humans
did look a little bit more. I think it's more the textures, a little bit more realistic. But it was still like crazy stuff walking down the streets. There's like a giant like mushroom thing walking down the street. I remember.
Yeah.
In the tech demos.
Oh, in the demo. You can find out about all that. What's the guy who does those videos when he talked about Beta 64? Like he went through the whole thing as far as what big thing was and how it's still in there. The texture and the model for it is actually still in the game and. Pretty cool to go digging for that stuff.
I feel like for me, it's a little bit different, like, because like T says he needs like his big adventure game or something with it. While I definitely agree when a system launches, you need that variety of games, I feel it should be there. For me, it works very differently. I think the only time where I had it like with T was for the Wii U. I had like Nintendo Land and like T, Darksiders 2, I fucking consumed my life after that. But apart from that, I've always had like a single game that just absorbed me for months. And I factually know for myself, Mario Kart is fucking gonna do that. Open world Mario Kart, bitch, I don't give a shit. Donkey Kong comes, a 3D Donkey Kong. Been begging for 20 years for that shit. I don't even give a shit that it comes out next month. I'm not gonna have time for that shit. I'm gonna be like playing Mario Kart.
Somebody click this shit right now. Click it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's retro. This man has put in hours and hours of 8 Deluxe, and like he's going to do that. Like he will. and he's not even gonna do the races. He's just gonna go to the corner and just look at the sunrise, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, here in this day and age, obviously, multi-systems. Back in the day, I didn't have multi-system, but the GameCube, I did have the Dreamcast, and I don't know if I was still playing any of the Dreamcast games by then, but I think I did pick up a couple late. I say late in the life cycle. 2 years in was late in the life cycle for Dreamcast. like Metropolis Street Racer. I remember playing a lot. I don't know if that was after the GameCube came out or not, but you know, like it's not for me. Like I'm just looking at the Switch 2 in its own right, like to have a reason to turn that system on. Obviously, there's a lot of games I want to see how they run, even without the ones that haven't got any announcement of an update. Be curious about
benchmarking on this.
I know, like Age of Calamity, is that going to be improved? But I'll
think right off the,
like I'm not gonna replay or restart Hogwarts or Cyberpunk or, I mean, Street Fighter 6 would be cool if everybody else had it. I'd want to have it because those are the type of games that have Switch Online, so that'd be a cool one to use it for. But
I still find it crazy that like I'm gutted about it because I would have got Street Fighter 6 at launch if it was on that.
Especially
I haven't played it at all yet.
The value compared to buying that shit, the regular version, and then those characters and stuff, it's like you're spending over $100.
I do feel like we're in the minority now when it comes to physical games and stuff, but they'll never have a sale for me for like a £60 digital Street Fighter game, like whatever.
Well, yeah,
£50 digital.
If you could get it, if you could get it for $30 and within a year or something, that would be, the game key card gives you that option. Yeah. But actually, not saying there's gonna be any first party, or this gonna happen on Switch 2. I was talking to the guy at work after I picked up Madden. He likes football, and he's like, "Yeah, I can get the digital, like the gold edition for $20 if I buy it off the PlayStation Store." And I'm like, "Well, it's like $30 the physical, so it was actually cheaper for the digital for that. That was the $100 edition." He ended up finding like a used copy for like $12, but either way, so every once in a while a digital game, like I got Jedi Fallen Order for like, I don't know, $11 or something. That PlayStation sale they did.
There's some good digital game sales that I always, every time I buy a game, I actually look at every single platform to what it's priced, and then I pick the price. That's the platform I pick for literally every single game, because there's always, surprisingly, there's like always a sale for at least one platform for like damn near every game I buy. It's weird. It just happens to be.
I got Control Ultimate Edition for like $7 or something. I was just looking at PlayStation PSN one day, and there's a bunch of sales. I got Axiom Verge 2 for like $4, $5, whatever it was. So there is a chance, but I think the key card thing, the potential for sales, like Ubisoft, Ubisoft games going to get a discount in the store. Sucks that you're going to be installing like probably 100 gigs for Assassin's Creed or Star Wars Outlaws, but it's not going to fit on a cartridge anyway. So,
well, I will say though about the launch, as someone who is younger and has not encountered, I actually like picked up many consoles at launch. I think I've only picked up the Switch, the 3DS at launch. Like I didn't even pick up the Wii U. I picked up the month after, so launch-ish, but like literally launch, I think it's literally only Switch and
right.
and 3D. I'm trying to think, because PS5 I bought a couple months after, Series X I bought a few months after, Xbox One was like the Christmas of, PS4 was that February. So they're always close, but it was never launch. So like, let's say like you were to buy a Switch 2 the month after, you would have your adventure game with Donkey Kong Bonanza right there. So it's kind of tough for me to say. I mean, for me personally, all I need is Mario Kart. Like, it's not even remotely close for me. But like in the end of the day, like, it's still, like I said, at least that Donkey Kong comes literally the month after, and it's not like, oh damn, you have Mario Kart,
and
it's
not
you're
like it's a
empty schedule. Like it's not. Yeah, it's not like an empty schedule. They'll be like, oh shit, when's Donkey Kong?
Still don't know where Prime or Pokemon though, like the dates.
That's crazy. That's the weird one. That's the weird one. Yeah, that's the weird one. Rumor is we're gonna get a direct next week or the week after. Which, to be fair,
rumor is we're gonna get a direct when we usually get a direct, which is in June.
I was saying, yeah, they'll definitely have one probably July or I guess I said July, but it was like, yeah, I mean, you're gonna get a direct semi close to launch because, it's their new system.
And it's launching in June, and that's like that's usually the time they have a direct.
Oh, that's true. That's true too. I didn't even think about that. That's literally like the week that they do E3.
Mm-hmm.
The week they do directs. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot for them to come out in these. I mean, I know we think at the end of the year, till the end of December, or whatever. But we'll have Donkey Kong next month, and then like we said, we haven't got dates for them, but you got Prime 4, you got Kirby's Air Ride, you got
Age of Imprisonment.
Yeah, Age of Imprisonment and stuff.
They didn't show much of that in their development thing. They
didn't show a lot of new.
That's got me a little concerned that it's maybe not going to be out like this winter this year, or maybe it could go into next year.
I saw a thing in Japan that said this winter 2025, so that's I'd be
but see. That could be a game I could see pushed to February or something if it's not ready.
But even if that got pushed, I actually don't think that'd be the biggest of deal, because it's a solid,
Of course, you still got. I haven't seen in the last couple of weeks, but there was a pretty big narrative of there was going to be the real, the big heavy hitter was coming. There was going to be announced and coming at the end of the year.
I know we had that discussion, but
Pokemon's a pretty big heavy hitter.
A surprise game. Yeah.
There could be. I wouldn't say a heavy hitter, but there could be.
But then again, Pokemon is for Pokemon fans.
Still, that's for Nintendo. That's a heavy hitter.
It doesn't necessarily mean
that's going to sell units.
It doesn't necessarily mean Nintendo fans.
Yeah, but that's tough, T, because that's tens of millions of people. It's still a lot. It's very big base.
We're not talking about the numbers. I'm not talking about the damn numbers. I'm talking about.
Those are people. Those are a lot of people. It's like if you were to say, "Oh, we announced
before Pokemon existed," and that's not in my core.
Yeah, I have a feeling Prime 4 and Age of Imprisonment will be close. Will be close to holiday. I think you'll have Prime 4 before, and then Age of Imprisonment right around the same time with Pokemon. I mean,
just sell Pokemon games and then see what happens. That's what they should do. They got a lot of numbers on it. So
selling Prime 4 and Kirby Air Riders.
And Air Riders. I think.
We don't know when Bonanza and Mario Kart World. Like we've already discussed.
We don't know when they're coming. That's the complaint. We don't know when they're.
But to think that there's like a heavy hitter coming, I think the release dates for Prime, Age of...
and I'm sorry, Prime is not a heavy hitter.
No, I don't think there is a heavy hitter coming.
They don't sell well.
There's no heavy hitter coming. It's Pokemon's the heavy hitter.
But that's the thing. You're talking a heavy hitter, then...
It's going to be Age of Imprisonment is going to be the other probably November-ish title. You got Prime 4 probably September, October, and then Pokemon. I think that's... What else does I mean? That's a lot of games for Nintendo to have out for the holiday. To put something else out. That's it'd be good, better variety, but you're gonna have some eating some sales from one.
Survive on a few games and some PS4 ports. I guess
Borderlands 4 come. I mean, there's some third party, maybe some third party games. I mean,
that's a brand new game.
Call of Duty could be this year.
Another $80 game, most likely. That they too scared to even say.
What's the game that you specifically want 3D Mario is what you're saying? It's the only thing that could come out that could come. And I agree with you. I would love 3D Mario, but like I feel what is it specific? The specific game that's like that's the heavy hitter over Pokemon Legends.
What's something? Just say what do you hope some?
What is like 3 to 5 games that's like those would be the ones like that?
I got nothing. I only want Mario apparently. So we'll roll with that.
I'm just saying, when you're naming games,
I don't think you're getting heavy Mario anytime soon because of the Donkey Kong.
I don't think so either. I think that you might get next year.
Let's say Prime 4 comes out October. You got Pokemon and Age of Imprisonment in the month of November. I mean, I know Prime's not the hugest seller, but just from Nintendo, they're not going to put out another game to go up against Prime that's going to cannibalize the sales even more. So. They're probably why they haven't released the date yet. They're probably like really worried about the timing of these releases to try to help maximize, the sales for each game. You got to give them something.
They should have put Prime at launch because Prime was not going to hurt Mario Kart at all. So I don't know. So if they were worried, they should just drop that bitch at launch.
I said it for the longest remember I always said that they're going to have Mario Kart and Metroid Prime at launch, and I'm surprised it didn't. I really am.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be saying anything had they done that.
It's like what T said. Prime is not a system seller. It's just not. People don't care. Like the last game sold like fucking 1 million or some shit. I don't know. That's why the Switch 2 is launching with Mario Kart, because every fucking buddy and their grandma is gonna buy Mario Kart and a Switch. So everybody is gonna have all these Switches, and then later on you're gonna release Prime, because you're gonna have a bigger install base and more people are gonna buy it because they have a Switch. So then they'll get it.
Well, Prime is also going to be on Switch 1, so you don't have to wait for an install base.
It's already on 150
million. If you want
million.
Prime, you can.
It's gonna be like
even if you're waiting to get a Switch 1 or Switch 2, you can buy that bitch on Switch and then just go and play it on Switch 2 with the enhancements.
I think it's gonna be like the Wii. Nintendo doesn't want you to buy it on Switch 1. They want you to get a Switch 2 and play it on Switch 2. That's why my guess
that bitch on Switch
wait
1.
for that release on Switch 2. That's like what they did with the Wii, with Twilight Princess and shit. That's why I released it first on the Wii, because they wanted that shit to sell.
But they do that in Breath of the Wild.
Well, I guess we don't know. I was gonna say it's the launch day and date, but I guess technically we don't know yet.
Do we think because we don't have it was like 3 days worth of data for Xenoblade Chronicles X didn't hit 1 million, but it was only like less than 7 days. I don't remember how many days it was from the end. Or maybe it was just over a week actually when that launched to the end of the fiscal year. It didn't hit 1 million. But I think it was too short of a time frame for that game to hit 1 million, but I could see Metroid Prime 4 not hitting 1 million on the Switch 1 just because you're gonna be months into the Switch 2. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, I don't know. Like I think that would have been a good launch title for the Switch 2, and maybe they thought they got to put it on Switch 1 because it was promised back in the day, and that maybe that'll get them an extra 1 million copies sold. It's gonna be really interesting to see how that breaks down. Because usually games like end of the generation don't do well. With PS4 and PS5, the cross-gen, the PS4 games were outselling the PS5 games, but that was because of the shortages and some of the lack of excitement for that new generation. So that was kind of different. But yeah, I don't see another like bigger game fitting in. I guess you got between Donkey Kong till whenever we think the next game's coming out. Could be a couple months, July, August, September, I think, or they could have a game every month if you count Age of Imprisonment as Nintendo, even though it's Koei Tecmo. They might have a game every month if you think about it. After Donkey Kong, they got like Kirby Air Riders,
and then Metro Prime,
Pokemon,
Age of Imprisonment, and then I know you don't want to say. I'm gonna say Dragx Drive.
Oh, Dragx Drive. That's the July game or something, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. They didn't say it. I don't think they said any date.
That bitch isn't gonna sell shit.
That looks like
fucking welcome home or whatever shit is going to sell more than Dragon Drive. I'm telling you that now.
It might be like the gameplay might end up being pretty compelling, but they don't have. It looks like it's an early pre-alpha build.
Like Doom.
I totally agree. Again, I said that yeah, like art style wise, it's whatever, but
generic.
Man, I really do. I think
ashy as hell. It's what we call looking ashy. That bit look ashy.
It's like just the most bland color palette. You got robots or blue and red, and they're dark gray and black wheelchairs. Like
it doesn't even look like a standalone game. It's like one game part of like Wii Sports or something.
Right. It looks like it's part
that
of
should be a pack-in. That looks like a pack-in game.
Robot.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know.
The concept is ridiculous anyway. You're making like a crippled robot that doesn't make fucking sense. Just making humans. Like, what's the point?
That's hilarious. Though. That's what I love about that. That sounds hilarious. That someone made robots that are crippled.
I'm not even
That's insane.
And I think it's almost
hilarious.
Like, that's ridiculous.
That is so uniquely stupid. It's
Clocked
great.
it. I don't think we got your opinion on the robots and the wheelchairs of being humans. I'm like, it's just such a weird decision. It's so weird.
It's so over the top and ridiculous. That imagine someone who creates robots is like, you know what? I'm gonna cripple all of them, put them in wheelchairs.
Sounds like they didn't try to not be offensive.
Yeah, like, but by that it is offensive. I feel.
That makes it offensive. Exactly, that's my point. It makes it offensive. Doing
just do it arms. Just make unique characters that have personality and different styles, and make you want to pick one character over the other. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not that hard. I just don't know.
It's just a small. I can't even call it an indie title. It's like it's not AAA. It's not AA. It's not indie. It's like it's something else.
No characters.
It's just
there's no characters.
But
It better have a
I think-
smaller
I think
dev team
playing it
than.
would be- playing it looks very fun though.
I
ain't
don't
gonna
even
lie to you.
care. I don't even care if reviews come out to say this is 10 out of 10. I'll never touch it whatsoever. It's just
Why not?
like, well, even when you told me the name just then, I completely forgot the name of it.
I completely forgot the game existed, and I just watched Girlfriend Reviews said that was their favorite game they played at the Switch 2 event.
That's amazing.
Because it was.
See, look at this. You see this cockpit? There's
Yeah.
already
That's
reviews
because they
for
played
it.
all the other games minus Mario Kart, and for whatever reason they don't.
Here we go.
They don't
Hold
seem
on,
like
let me,
Mario Kart fans.
Because it looks super. I mean, look.
Let me
I
mimic
think,
it. Doesn't this look fun?
yeah.
Don't
For
forget
hours
shooting,
and hours.
waving your hands for the ball.
Yo, you're acting like again as someone who loves VR and doing all the action
Yeah,
and shit.
I know. I do it in VR and it's stupid. That's why I don't like it. I don't like it in VR either.
Oh,
It's
you're crazy.
stupid.
I love that.
Do they even
video.
have a price for that game yet?
No, that's the weird. I'm very curious about what they. What they
If
put
that's
that
more
at.
than
It's gonna be a
$20.
full price 1-2 Switch.
Oh, I expect it to be. I mean, I would think it's more. I'm gonna
$29.99.
go on it. Guess like it could be as high as 40 to be honest.
It's gonna be
$80.
$80.
So
I don't. No way is it gonna be.
I know
80.
this is a
They're
small
saying-
team, but Expedition 33 was $50, made by 22 people over 6 years, and it started out as like some weird cartoony RTS. I just watched a video on it. It's crazy the story of that game, like how the development happened.
It's
And
here,
then-
but
Well, I will say
what we can't do. And then you see like Baldur's Gate 3 come out, and then you see like the Expedition come out, and like, oh wait a minute, why are these guys able to do what we can't do in the industry anymore? I'm
Because
confused.
the frickin'
I will
help
say
me
though,
figure
with
it out.
Expedition 33 is. I know we always talk about it's only 30 employees or whatever, but there's they do have their credits list is a lot bigger than 33, and a lot of it is like they send out to Korea and they have off-site animators and stuff, and people don't bring that up.
people make
Is it 100 like Ubisoft
It is
game?
a lot, like a lot
Yeah,
bigger.
this isn't some Hollow Knight affair where you
Well-
actually do have less than 10 people who made the game.
probably some of those is you obviously got different voice acted, different regions. You got
No, it's voice acted. No, but there's like
Yeah,
animation.
I'm saying more than the 22. That's people they
Yeah.
hired to like do the. And Charlie Cox, I was surprised. I was like, I know that voice. I know that damn voice. It's damn Daredevil, like from the live, the TV series. And I'm like, once I heard it, of course I knew it. I think the main character Gustav looks like they just took Robert Pattinson and scanned his face and looks
It
just
did
like
look
him.
like Robert Pattinson.
It's so weird.
They're making a movie for that game apparently.
Are they?
We'll see
It's
if it ever comes
amazing.
out.
Like it's a weird
But
story.
It could be Robert Pattinson.
Really, I think it would be better as an animated
He could be.
film, but it's just
anime, but
it's crazy. Like the storyline, I still don't know what the hell's going on in this world. It's very unique, but yeah, I mean, obviously, if they have outsourced people making textures and objects to put in the world, that's kind of deceiving to say it was just 22 people.
That's why, yeah, that's what's a little bit like. It's still not like the thousands that you see in Ubisoft, and I think that alone should be like looked at as cool. But I think it's disingenuous to say it's only 33. But then when I was looking at the credits, it goes on for quite a while, and it's not just voice actors, and it's actual animators and stuff. And it's like, really though? I mean, like, what they don't
But
deserve
is it-
credit.
But is it 400, 500, 600 people?
Be interesting.
That's exactly.
No.
But that's what I'm saying.
So
Why don't they
hold
just
on.
say-
Actually, what you're saying is more proof of they can do this shit, right?
Exactly.
You're saying
So I
there's
don't-
more people. Yeah.
That's why they should. Wait. What do you mean?
No. Well,
No,
he's like,
I mean it in a
exactly.
good way.
You don't.
No. I also mean in a good. I'm saying
Okay.
that you're saying there's more people than the initial 30 people or whatever. So
But it's not.
there's
thousands,
there's
like,
many more people, but the fucking price is still $50, right?
Yeah.
And the game is well received because it's a very good game. It's a lot of people's game of the year already. So
Yeah.
why can these guys do this? I understand they're industry veterans, but a lot of people in the industry are industry veterans. Why can't the other big companies do this?
Well,
Maybe
part
a lot
it's
of this
just
money that they're
the downside of a bloated company with, more.
yeah. What I'm saying, that's my point.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, you can either choose to not let your company get big, or you can, because I've seen business, where I live, big automotive industry, and I've seen places, little shops doing really well, and they're like, oh, we're going to build a building 5 times larger and hire all these people, and then a year later they're out of business because there's too much overhead, and it's just hard to find enough good people and all that. So I think that's the problem when studios get big. You want your company to get big so you make more money, but then it's just a bunch of bullshit you have to deal with. Just remember listening to, whether it was real or not, what's the Halo 343 said there was just all kinds of people making changes up top, and then they're telling people, oh, no, we're changing direction, we're doing this. And whether that was true or not, I believe that happens in studios. Like, that seems like, if it was made up, it's very plausible that happens. I've seen it in my company I work for. Oh, we got to do this. 2 months later, our sales plummets. Like, nope, we're doing this, and we're going to do this instead and make it all triumphant. We're going to lower our prices after we raise our prices.
They had mad contractors on the game, and when you do that, you want to have a core base of people working on the game, and then if you want to add in some kind of art assets or something like that, you go contract.
Yeah.
But they had like huge swaths of contractors working on a core pillar of franchise game. Like, what are you doing?
Didn't Nintendo have an issue with that?
Of course, you're gonna have problems.
Having a lot of contractors, they weren't paying them, and
no, I don't think they were paying.
Reggie said not.
You pay them.
Reggie said not on my watch.
Yeah, they weren't like hiring them in. They were just basically using them for 1 time, 2 times jobs, and then
not on my watch. Said he's it's like, wait a minute, you were there when this happened. You were there. Period.
Wasn't that like some union stuff or something?
Union stuff, yeah.
It was something about like from what I remember, it was literally like it was kind of in hopes that they could convert to full time and start working. But they never just renewing and not actually going to full time.
It's like Peter Parker looking to be full time, not just paid by the photo. Have a real job.
Then Jay Jonah Jameson gives him that laugh.
So
you serious?
It sucks though. It sucks that if a company gets big and then their ambitions get big, and then just the quality. It's hard for big companies to still deliver. Like,
well, you saw the juice with what's the name? That game I gave up on, and then they did a sequel in Iceland.
Oh, Hellblade.
So they started off Hellblade. So they started off a small team, didn't they? I think they ballooned up a bit then in the sequel and stuff, and got a big
one in the game was small.
Big boots and
they made the
stuff,
game smaller and but more money, more ambition.
Yeah.
Like, I still
they really photographed those rocks. So they got the rock photographs down to a T.
We had this combat system where you had to pay attention to your surroundings, and the voices in your head would tell you, and you get a little identifier. And it was like part of the challenge was not going to focus too much, because I know there's going to be somebody creeping up to my side or to behind me, and I got to be aware. I can't just focus on this one thing, because then I'm going to get attacked from the back and I'm going to die. And then no, every single encounter is a one-on-one fight. All these people around, then it's just a one-on-one till that ends, then it's a one-on-one till that ends. I'm like, I guess probably some people complain. I know Terrell doesn't like enemies that attack you off screen in certain games. I know God of War was a big one, but like Astral Chain had a similar issue. Some of these action games have that, but I thought they had the potential to make it like an amazing, not like Arkham system, but a way you could counter the attacks and still take on multiple foes at once. And they went to 1v1s for every single fight. So whatever, that was a design choice. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Someday maybe I'll play it. But all right, with that out of the way, let's. We are about 45 minutes in. We want to get into the main topic yet? Do we got anything else? Any other news? Something else? Anything come out?
We got
the direct. Is that the main topic?
What direct?
No, the topic is the Switch.
Rumor.
No, I was going to talk about like our lifetime, our expectations for the Switch and third-party support and all that, but we'll get to that in a second. I feel like there's something that came out in the last week?
Nothing I can
I
think
can't
of.
remember anything too juicy.
Dang it. Well, I guess I'll talk about a little bit about Expedition 33 a little bit more in detail. I just want to say, as somebody who hasn't played a lot of turn-based games, I watched my buddy back in the day on the NES play the Dragon Warrior games 1 and 2 and Final Fantasy 3, or AKA 6. I watched him play almost that whole game, just because it was so cinematic, and I didn't really want to play. I didn't really care to play it, but I liked watching him play it. The music was good. The visuals were amazing. I'm trying to think of the first one I actually finished. Might have been Child of Light. Might have been my first turn-based game I ever beat, like from start to finish.
That was a damn good game as well.
They had a unique.
Ubisoft
They had a unique system.
Who was the publisher for that?
Ubisoft published
Wasn't that Ubisoft?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Ubisoft.
That's Wii U, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played it on Wii U first because that was quite a hot release for the Wii U.
And that was another
the combat system in that had a counter system that was very similar to Grandia 2, where you can see their battle bar going up, but sometimes you'd be able to get into front, so when they attacked, you could counter at the same time and stuff. It was really good.
Yeah, I feel like there was a cool mechanic that might have been it. That doesn't really ring a bell. It's been so long since I played the game, but I remember
Switch
whether
you physical.
could you move. Maybe it's Pokemon. If you do a certain move, you can do a more powerful move, and then you actually lose. It's not your turn. The enemy gets an extra turn in between if you decide to do a certain. I think that was Pokemon.
Legends Arceus.
Yeah,
Legends Arceus.
Yeah, Arceus. Yeah,
that's the only other one that I know for sure that I beat that was turn based, like finished. So I've never been a huge fan, for playing them.
That's crazy.
But this game, and I don't see anybody talking about. I've heard about the timing of the attacks with the little on-screen X. That's just a little bonus thing. That doesn't. Yeah, I mean, if you don't hit it, your attacks are a little, decent amount less damage. But they took Bayonetta's dodge and parry basically and put it in a turn-based game. It's freaking amazing. Like, I didn't hear anybody talk about that. So dodging.
Well, I heard of it
easier.
as in Sekiro. Like they were like, oh, it's a parry like Sekiro or something.
It's got.
They compare it to usually.
I think it's I guess it's more of a parry, but the dodge doesn't get you like slowdown or anything. But the parry, if you do that, you do a. Let's say they attack 3 times and you parry it all 3 times, and then you do a counter attack, heavy damage, and it's like just that change, just having the ability to time dodge and time parry, and the enemies will do just like in Sekiro and all the other From Software games, they'll do the swing, and then then they go like that, and then it's a slight 1 second delay between what it looks like their attack to the actual attack, so you have to learn the timing, and sometimes it looks like they're going to be slow and then they'll attack quick. So it's very much what I'm used to playing in From Software games, and it's keeps me completely engaged the whole time. And you can fight really high level enemies as long as you can dodge the attacks. I mean, I'm not that good at it yet, but I got a huge boss down to 10% of their health bar. If I just would have dodged the last attack, I might have got him. And it's this is such a cool system. I'm sure maybe other games have done that in turn-based, but...
Well, I always say, and I keep comparing it to this game, but if you, in Paper Mario, when an enemy attacks you, if you time it right, you get less damage every single time. That's the whole...
you can avoid all damage.
Very deep RPG.
And the parry
system.
You
can avoid all damage depending on how much the enemy is attacking, but that's, again... Your favorite game is Paper Mario. I mean, I say that was the developer's favorite game.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't hear that part when I listened to the story, or watched the story of the game development. And
it was there was I saw one of the developers. It was obviously not all of them, but a few of them that some of their favorite games were Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense if that's the case.
It's just complete game changer for me. I can't wait to get in the next battle, and it's obviously
Paper Mario. Then
I should try it. The original. That's on the Switch Online.
1,000 Year Door at least.
Which one has that? What you're talking about?
The both 1 and
They both have
1,000
it.
Year Door.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll play the one that's on Switch
Paper
Online.
Mario 64 is better than 1,000 Year Door. Don't listen.
I think it's better, but everybody.
Either way, I could go.
All over 1,000 Year Door.
It's got that EAD magic, man. I'm telling you, the soundtrack.
Technically, that turn based, you could. I'm pretty sure. If I remember, you could do it in all of them, other than Super Paper Mario. But it's like,
yeah, even the color.
If you want to play what people consider the best, N64 one and 1,000 Year Door. But
so as a non-turn-based guy, I can say you got to play this game. Like you have to. Like it's
definitely
so
on my list for sure.
The story is very intriguing. It's very like supernatural fantasy set in like a old time Londonish kind of style, I guess. But the world's just completely jacked. I have no idea what's going on, but
is it very somber, like very sad in a way?
The opening is, but
I like
melancholy.
Okay.
I'm not like depressed though.
Melancholy's
Like the
probably a better
interaction between characters, they're still, making jokes and making it lighthearted. It's not all serious, all doom and gloom.
Because it sounds very sad, isn't it? Like, what is it that literally like once that
every year somebody
every year.
So at 100. Anybody that was 100 years old just died. And then the next year 99. But they don't explain, like, what if you're born, you're let's say you're 90, let's say you're 50 years old when it's 51, and then you turn, and then everyone who's 51 dies, and then a couple of days later you turn 51, but now it's only people who are 50 years old. I don't understand. They don't explain how it works.
You continue living?
No, they didn't. They don't explain. Their population keeps getting smaller and smaller. The oldest person.
Yeah, I imply that, but they don't say.
They didn't quite explain how was everybody born on the same day, or is it everybody that age and above? I mean, because right now the main characters, they're 33 and they're the oldest people alive in the town or whatever. So next year it'll be 32. So they didn't really quite.
Gotcha.
Sounds almost like Xenoblade 3 to me.
It has that vibe with the characters. The chemistry between the main characters is very Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It's just good.
Xenoblade and Mario.
I mean, ultimately, like I don't know much about Expedition 33. I can't help but think like Japan must be thinking these sons of bitches, man, getting 10s out of 10s, robbing our battle system and shit like this.
Right.
Turn-based RPGs always score well.
I can't help but feel.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't help but feel like a Western influence
metaphor.
To prop the game up a bit.
But it's game year usually.
But it doesn't.
They're starting to get way more love these days, but
I feel like all the biggest games.
we see it a lot, don't you know, when we get these Western games doing homages to Japanese games, like Sea of Stars and stuff like that, like even though it had a little feedback, and it gets all the hype and stuff. Now I'm not tuning out Expedition 33 at all. One of my friends is playing it as well. He's saying it's amazing. And ultimately, these guys are, they're paying respects to. I say paying respects. They're taking a lot of influence from the JRPGs that they love and grew up playing, and then have amalgamated it into their own French stylized version of what they do. We see it in all the game. I don't mind that stuff. I'll eventually get around to it. And it sounds like a great concept. Story-wise, but to be fair, I haven't seen much of the battle system, so I can't speak too much on it.
Well, if it don't come to Switch 2, you're gonna need to get something because it ain't coming to PS4. Like,
I feel like it's gotta come to Switch 2 at some point.
It'll come to Switch.
It's not. I wouldn't say like. I like the style, but it's not like the most visually impressive game.
You can play it on this bad boy.
Yeah, it is on PC, so you have to upgrade.
I love how Robert is just randomly taking shit out of the air. Like, GTA 6 will never come. Expedition 33 will definitely come. He's just grabbing all this shit randomly.
Well, come on, let's be for real here, though. Come on, it's very
what else are they going to put it on? Because they said that they're going to look at other platforms.
Come to Switch.
Switch 2 is the only other platform that they could be talking about.
You think GTA is definitely coming to Switch?
Who?
Oh, I think it's definitely coming. I put money on it.
I put money it isn't.
I'd put money on.
Yeah, I'll put my. I will buy
is.
you your copy of GTA 6 on Switch 2 if it comes out. On Switch
It might not come out for 3 years though. You know, like you never know.
I don't think it's coming out this whole generation. I will bet money it'll come out on Switch 3.
I don't know.
Is that?
But anyway, let's get back
Why
to
Switch 3? Why not Switch 2?
I get it on here.
It can't be
Just
because of power.
I think it could be.
you ain't playing GTA 6 on PC
so what
for
you're
at least
saying
a
is
year. But
you literally think.
No, I think it's Rockstar. Rockstar is putting Red Dead Redemption 2 on Switch 2, and then they'll look at it again, Switch 3 later on for.
Okay, so you're not.
Oh, you're talking about
What are you talking about here?
I thought you were talking about
That's
GTA.
what I'm talking about.
We're talking about GTA 6.
Oh,
GTA.
GTA. Oh, I ain't talking about no GTA.
Wait, I'm not buying you a copy of Expedition 33. I'm buying you
I thought you were talking about GTA as well.
Around this. I'm so confused.
Because I think there's a good chance. What other platform were they talking about? Because the only other one.
It's not about power, even to me. GTA is like, I don't think they just got a thing against Nintendo. That's been decades long. So I don't.
They don't even.
Well, they got a rumor that Red Dead Redemption 2 coming.
Not only don't they.
Who's reporting that?
Probably not them.
If they don't, I don't know. Yeah,
Exactly.
they don't seem to do their own port. They don't work on there's no PS4 Pro update for Red Dead Redemption 2. There was no PS5 upgrade for Red Dead Redemption 2. They just finish a game for that system. Yeah, they'll put out patches and maybe new content, but they don't do anything post like the original PC.
That's the rumor is that they're porting it to PS5 and Series X and Nintendo Switch 2. That's the rumor.
I'm with T. I honestly still believe that there's just some hate there still for whatever bloody reason, and you can't help but feel like whenever Rockstar do put stuff on Nintendo platforms, there's always like the late hand-me-downs, and the only time we got something, which is one of my favorite DS games, which is Chinatown Wars. That was in their main studio who'd done that game.
Yeah.
So even when you get an original
GTA, the PSP and shit anyway.
Yeah, they put it on the PSP exactly. But I just don't think they're interested. I still, it could be hate, it could be how they view Nintendo as that type of platform, and even Red Dead 2 and stuff. It's just now it just feels like a hand me down. Like it's like
it does. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like
it's personal. I think it's a person. People forget. I think this goes back to DMA design on N64. I think this is a personal thing that they've had with Nintendo for decades now. So, I just don't know.
Well, I'll bet retro. You think GTA 6 is going to Switch 2?
I ain't betting on that shit.
He's still got to buy Mario Kart World.
Even if it does come now, and we're all wrong.
But I'm not saying that
it doesn't matter, because ultimately we can only go off what's happened, right? And what's happened is we've had all the hand-me-downs over all these years. So what? Now they finally put a mainline GTA on a Nintendo platform. It'd be a surprise for everyone. There's no one who could say, I told you it happened because of this and that, because the Switch sold so much, and the Switch 2 is now this jiggly wiggly thing doing all this. No, none of that mattered. Up to this point, we have what's happened, and it's just.
Yeah, you're talking about G6, bitch. We didn't get 4 or 5. You're talking about 6. You're talking about 6. Like what? They could easily put 4 and 5 on Switch. They could easily done that, but they didn't do that shit. So.
Yeah. And even everyone, even like all the developers who finally caught up with the Switch, because they all ignored it at the start because they thought it was going to be another Wii U. They're going to see what happens.
Except Bethesda.
All those who finally caught up, even when Rockstar finally caught up, what they do, they put 2 jank-ass versions of fucking GTA 3. And
I guess they're fixed now, or they're a lot better now.
Versions of GTA 1
they're a lot better now, but
should have been good to begin with, but
it's better now, but.
Yeah, years later. It was years before they did it.
It was years after the Switch was out. It's just
for some PS2 games. It took years to fix that shit. That's embarrassing.
I think Expedition 33 would do well on the Switch too. It's already past 4 million sold. I think that's sold. I don't think it's because it's done really well on Steam. And it's like a small publisher too, so it's just crazy. But getting back to what Clocked was saying, well, what are the the Japanese companies that are making turn-based games, like modern ones, what types of games are they making other than the Personas, Shin Megami Tensei, and now Metaphor? Like what are the big Japanese?
You can't obviously ignore Xenoblade. You can't.
Dragon Quest also does well.
Yeah, Dragon Quest
Tales
does really well.
is fucking
Yeah,
huge.
We've had the Final Fantasy
But do
remakes,
those-
at the end of the day.
Other than Final Fantasy, I feel like almost all of them are
Tales
like
of is
animated
huge.
style type games. Am I mistaken?
Anime, you mean?
Like animation style, either cartoony or CG anime style. Like I don't feel like.
Oh, that is Japan. That's what they do.
So yeah, I mean, you could say this borrows some mechanics.
You can't
but...
say because those games aren't worthy because they're animated style.
No, I'm saying is
because again, like you said, they big up Western companies who make those type of games, like Sea of Stars, right? That was
yeah. I didn't know Sea of Stars.
You know?
I thought that was a Japanese or an indie game.
I thought that was Japanese too, to be honest.
But I'm saying like Expedition. I don't think
it's a
Japanese developers making anything like this game other than the mechanics. But I'm saying like the style, the story, the characters. Like to me, I guess the Final
Every
Fantasy
JRPG has that story. I'm just saying it like that.
I would say Final Fantasy 16 probably looks similar in that respect.
So I mean, you got to have somebody's got to come in and do something different. Not every game can be an animation style, like turn-based game, or like a super long 100-hour Persona game. Like there's got to be. It's like to me that I like playing games a long time, but a 100-hour turn-based game, like there's no way I was gonna play Persona. So hearing that this game was a little more reasonable length.
Oh, you know what's a more realistic? One of my favorite turn-based RPGs, Yakuza Like a Dragon.
I had that downloaded for like 2 years when I had PlayStation Plus. I never booted it up.
Well, but that's a turn-based RPG that is not anime style. It's literally they're more realistic in visuals.
What about?
But I mean, it is very rare. I will admit, like in terms of that. When
I feel like T and J's would know it, but Hybrid Heaven on the N64, they got like a non-anime like turn-based.
Yeah, that was realistic for its time. That was
suplexing fingers.
All I know
is seriously, fucking wrestling moves on my A's and shit.
Yeah, it's so good.
All I know is I saw it. The Xbox showcase, whatever, 2 years ago, the Expedition 33, maybe last year.
That's right.
I instantly was like, that game's. I looked up the name, rewatched the trailer. I was like, that game like spoke to me, like something. Just obviously the visual style, but I was like, I know Clocked made fun of me because I was like, wow, they look at the like the turn-based combat actually looks engaging in I don't know what the word I use, and he was like, "Oh, this game did that," and I was like, "Well, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in that style."
Sorry.
Like, it's a mixture of the aesthetics, the world they created, the characters, and the combat looked like visceral, and I'm just glad that it delivered. It wasn't another one of those games that looks good.
I remember now. I think why I said it's kind of how you started off this whole conversation, where you said like your experience with turn-based RPGs, and then you went straight back to Dragon Warrior, from like 1989 or something. I think it kind of reminds you like you like bump into someone like you could work in the office or something, and they'll hear you over talking like your video games or something. And be like, oh yeah, I love Super Mario. I used to play that back in the day. And you're like, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, I had RPGs on NES. They did not resonate with me at all until Super Nintendo and the better graphics and stuff came out. And that's when
but that's what I mean.
RPGs started to resonate with me.
I always argue is like that the perception of what turn-based battle systems are for many people. Goes back to the old, very slow.
Yeah, the old.
ATB.
When the character would just go like this.
They evolved so quickly from like 1988, 99.
Here's your attack animation.
Freaking night and day.
Yeah, but that was the combat system back then. But
a lot of menus too back in the old games.
Yeah, but that's what a role-playing game is. you know,
It's,
you got to remember
it's
that,
literally what it
that
is.
these games were built from Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, right? You
Exactly.
choose menus, you choose how you want to attack, you select options. That is the game style.
But you
It's
still
not
have all
archaic.
that, but now
Technically,
it's
what
just laid out
Very nerdy.
Yeah,
better.
but it's not
Technically-
archaic. It's just the game style. So if you like battle systems that have that stuff, but then also want flashy battle systems, they exist. But then to say like something like Octopath Traveler is archaic. It's not archaic. It's a great grounded concept. It's like calling a side-scrolling platformer archaic. No, it's not. You can go back and play Super Mario World now. It's still smooth.
the
Most of the
time,
games
though.
that come out
Well,
today.
there was a time where they were thought of as archaic, side-scrolling games. What, late '90s, I would say, when they started to be
And
that's
64
that's
that
cool
kind of
playing it.
And
right.
and I remember
In 64.
after like the GameCube generation and stuff, I started thinking back because sometimes we'd be like it ourselves, but I started thinking back and thinking it's probably one of the biggest mistakes ever made to lose those game styles to focus so much on 3D.
We actually
then
had a revolution
Yeah.
in that turn-based, though, what people keep forgetting. And I feel it still counts as turn-based because they integrated it. But it is what Jude said with the active battle stuff. It's Secret of Mana, Secret of
I actually
Evermore.
played that
Those
game.
games are technically still turn-based, and you have menu systems to select your attacks and everything. But you are actively walking around the enemy and avoiding and
Well, it's like Xenoblade.
Or
The
if,
fucking
if,
E
if you like,
series.
if you like Rob, instead
Yeah.
instead of hoarding the
Yeah.
games that you buy, if you play something like Parasite Eve, then you will have a turn base and you can actually run around the enemies and position yourself. And we're going back to
I'm not even down
Well,
with
it's
it.
not
Red
even
Dead
to me.
dropped
It's
it.
not even about the running around. It's like, yeah, you can have, if you prefer, hit attack or hit battle, hit attack, select your from 3 attacks, or you can have all 3 attacks just be the 3 face buttons and not have to go. You're still doing the same thing. It's just it's not as cumbersome. It's not as slow. Like you can still go in the menu. Like you hit the triangle in that game, and it brings up your items. Like, you use your heal. You can use your revive. If you hit square, it brings up your special attacks. You get 6 of them. 3 on the one side. You hit R2, brings up the other 3, and then if you just hit X, it just attacks with one press. You don't need to go into a menu to accomplish the same thing. Now, you might prefer the menu or think there's no negatives to that, but to me, it's like the Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Why Retro and Terrell love it so much is you have the arts are just on the face buttons versus I actually prefer the D-pad of X and selecting them that way. I don't know. It's just because that was my first Xenoblade game, maybe. So I guess it's just a preference, but
I just like I said, it's just more. It's the evolution of these battle systems commenced so long ago that we've had many combat systems like this, and even my favorite game ever, for Breath of the Wild, was Panzer Dragoon Saga. Panzer Dragoon Saga's battle system is a real-time turn-based battle system, and you have to keep moving because the enemies try to fly around you. You got to fly around them. Yeah, exactly, T. You try to fly around them, but then you select your attacks and stuff and position yourself to their weak points or to their anything like that. It's such a dynamic battle system. I would argue that it's never been done again in a turn-based battle system. So we're going back to like 1998, where the concept of just standing there and doing nothing whilst having dynamic and not having dynamic movements and dynamic menus and stuff like this. Like I said, all that stuff changed in the early 90s, and like I said, people's perceptions of what a turn-based RPG is I suppose it's like for all of us, like when we try to define a genre, when we try to define a JRPG or the Western RPG and stuff like that. How do you define these things? But then ultimately, you will have the base, and then they all branch off into these almost their own subgenres and sub styles. Like Metroid fucking Vanias or like Metroid games or like Castlevania games and stuff. They all stemmed from this initial source, and then deviate slightly, but still, keep intact what was originally there. So I'm sure, like with Expedition 33, I don't know when it gets to the combat system. It doesn't look like you're controlling the character running around. It looks like you're standing there. So there you go. It keeps that core thing, but then what it does, it just elevates that that combat system so it feels more instant and dynamic. So you feel like you're constantly doing something. But like I said, it's just, you know, these things have been, you know, in the past, and I'm so glad to see you loving a turn-based battle system. You know, hopefully it gets you into more. You know, like it, because there are more out there.
Yakuza Like a Dragon, man. That shit is incredibly over the top in terms of it just the shit that the crazy animations, but it's also a lot of time. There's timing stuff to it. That shit is one of the best turn-based RPGs. But another great turn-based RPG is one that you want to talk about movement, is one that you literally have to move, and that is Ring Fit Adventure, where literally the only way to attack these enemies is by you doing exercises and movements, man. And it is genuinely a great RPG, and there is no other RPG like that. And I always recommend.
I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm never gonna get that game, and it's one game I wanted to get. But, you know, it's like
I thought you had it already. I thought you had it already.
No, I haven't got around to buying it. I've been so close so many times.
It's legitimately, bro. It's got a great boss with Drago. It's got a beautiful world that I took a bunch of screenshots in, and literally, in order to progress in the game, you have to do shit physically, and it's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah, and I will say, like, there's a very abundant use of invisible walls in Expedition. It's a very linear, like, there's areas you can do platform, you can jump, but, you know, if you're not supposed to get somewhere, it just you could look like you should be able to walk off, drop down into this area. Nope, it's just invisible walls, and it's like you have to do that if you're not gonna have.
Yeah.
You know, you could try to design the levels a little bit better, but you can't just fall off to your death because it just stops you. You know, so there's limitations there. There's not as much exploration, but still, at the end of the day, like, I'm
the gameplay loop is very satisfying. It sounds,
and can't wait to play some more.
Nice.
So
nice.
All right. So as far as Switch 2 goes,
next week.
Next week. I know it's next week.
A week and a half
Crazy.
from now. Where do we want to start? You want to start with lifetime sales prediction, or just like a general?
We gotta go when the Switch 3 is coming out, and we've got.
Yeah, how long is the generation gonna last? Let's start. Retro Death, you're first.
How long the generation is
2025 till when? Like before Switch 3 comes out. 10 years?
Predict the month and year.
I'll say 7 years.
7, huh?
That's shorter than I thought. Well, so you're saying it's 2032? Damn, isn't that crazy? Isn't that 2032?
7 years.
2032.
And it'll launch May, whatever Thursday is, and the 20th.
May.
Imagine you get there.
May
right?
of 32. May of 32. That's a long time away. I don't want it to be that. I don't ever. All right, Robert, you're next.
All right, let's see. It's interesting because I think it depends on how long of a generation. I think maybe even what are we looking at PlayStation 6 and what Microsoft would be doing. I would think it maybe depend on that in a way, but I'm gonna go even longer than retro. I'm gonna go another 8 years, baby, and I'll say March 2033.
T, what about you?
I actually agree with Robert there. I think I believe that the next Xbox will be 2026. I think it's next year, most likely holiday next year. So I don't see them thinking there would be a reason to, if you think about the lifespan of that thing, I don't. It might be different because it's supposed to be kind of a PC console hybrid, basically. So they might be reiterating that than they would use a regular console. It could be every few years for that thing. So I don't know. Nintendo doesn't usually pay attention to that, but they might. But yeah, I think it's going to be at least 7 years. I'm thinking 20 or 32 or 33. Yikes. Yikes.
But what month, T? You
Oh, month. Oh.
You gotta guess
I
the
didn't know that
month.
was
32,
requirement.
33.
Yeah, you gotta guess the
You want
month.
me to tell you what month they're gonna drop in 8 years from now? Let's see. Well, they've done a fucking March. They've done a September. They've done a June. Who the fuck knows? Why is this a prerequisite? I have no idea. Let's say August.
2032?
23 or 2?
August 33. I say 33. August 33.
All right, clocked it.
Yeah, that'd be longer than the Switch, I think. Or no, I guess.
Oh man, I hate guessing these things.
It's fun.
Right. First of all,
We got to come back and
will there even be a gaming industry in like 10 years time? Probably not.
What?
Why are you saying that? That's
What?
it might not be what we want, but it's gonna be here, limping around.
That can be your answer. There's going to be no new Nintendo console. It's going to be
This is the last
There's gonna be no
Nintendo
console.
console.
This is it.
Well, it's got to take Nintendo longer now to make games, isn't it?
That's true. But
It's got to take Nintendo longer to make games, right? It took them for fucking ever to make Breath of the Wild.
and Tears.
And now that was on a Wii Poo, right?
Mario Kart Wii took 8 years.
Even having the
Our world.
template, it took them too long to get Tears of the Kingdom out.
So do they go all hardcore where we have a generation of single titles, or will it be doubling up on some, right? When it comes to the megatons, I think.
I mean, the Switch even had some that had no fucking games.
Yeah, I actually think we might only get one Zelda. If we only get one
We had
Zelda,
a whole
we only
year.
get one Zelda. 2025.
Yeah, I think we might only get one Zelda this generation. No, well, we might get. I think you'll get another top
31,
one.
62. The Nintendo Galactic will come out
Like a Nintendo
in the year. The Nintendo Galactic will come out in the year 2033, and it's gonna come out in September the 3rd.
Oh, September 3rd. Okay. Go back to N64.
Wait! I didn't even check. What day that would be.
It
That would
would
be
be like a Saturday or some shit.
So let me go to 33, and then September. Oh, it's on a Saturday. Make it a 2nd.
I just pulled that out of my ass. It's a Saturday.
Well, I'll say
Yeah,
mine
it's a
would
Saturday. Yeah.
Oh,
You could put March 3rd for mine, by the way. March 3rd, 2033, because it's a Thursday.
So
Just
I'm
like
gonna
the
go
Switch.
different. I'm gonna say March 2031. I'm thinking 6 years, because I think they're gonna do They're not gonna try to make it last as long. And somebody in the comments said it after I already wrote down that this new Nintendo cares more about hardware specs, so maybe they'll want to upgrade sooner, possibly.
That's what I'm thinking. That's
Yeah,
why I
I
went
care
back to
about
the Switch.
But
what?
the development length kind of scares me away from that, but I'm gonna
Based on
stick
what?
to it.
Can somebody
Because I
please
mean,
tell
this
me
Nintendo-
what they
this
care about
Nintendo
hardware
doesn't-
specs?
Well, they
Like, this
talked
Nintendo
about it
doesn't
in
care
the direct,
about like the
here's
games.
thing.
They're like, oh, we need to get this many games on this system. We already know because Nintendo
What else
does
we
it
gonna
all the
talk about?
fucking time. It's like
Ain't no
this game
games.
isn't making it this system, so we just skip it to the next. Like they keep doing it with like fucking everything. They've done it with like the last 2 Zeldas. They've done it with Metroid and shit. Like they don't care about the timeline when it comes to the games they're developing.
And it'd be interesting
of course
because
they talked about specs because they ain't got no games to talk about.
it'll be interesting to see how well it sells too, because that, like, Robert got to or somebody was just talking about the Mario Kart bet between Retro and I, Because initially I said, I was saying it was only they were going to release the next game like a couple years after the Switch came out. But once it hit, forget how many sales Mario Kart 8 hit or Deluxe hit, where I was like, no. I remember T and I were the first two saying like, there's no way they're coming out with a new Mario Kart. This thing's selling too well. It just makes no sense to put out a new Mario Kart now. And then like the next,
well, actually, I said it.
Back.
You said it first.
Push back over
okay. I know.
I said I made the video. Right? I made a video. How will Mario Kart 9 affect how will Mario Kart 8 Deluxe affect Mario Kart 9? I said I don't think they may not even release this was before Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out, because I went by the one per generation. To be fair, Nintendo themselves weren't going by that initially, and then they were running into some technical issues, and they said, "Oh, actually, we'll do the booster course pass," and it ended up working out in their favor, and now they're able to release it on a more powerful Switch too.
Yeah, I was skeptical until whatever number it hit sales, and then it was like a holiday or something. I'm like, "There's no way this is like their best-selling game." I think once it was like the best-selling.
We're like, "Oh no, Mario Kart 9's coming!" I'm telling you, why would they put out Mario Kart 9? This thing is selling like a new
even if
game.
They wanted to, they weren't going to.
If they wanted to, right? That would be stupid. You're going to cannibalize your own sales. Why would you do that?
So what do we think?
But that's if you saw the interview, it actually the sales really helped them out, where they were able to like really push this game further in terms of like the world and what they could do. So that's, I mean, hey, to be fair, while it sucks that we got a whole generation of no Mario Kart, brand new Mario Kart, we're getting a very, very thoroughly cooked Mario Kart, where it's like, hey, hey, check this out.
They're thorough, so damn sure that they're thorough.
So
there's always factors, right? But it's like even 2033, it's not, I know it's far away, but console life wise, we're halfway through 2020. It's going to be 2026 in 6 months.
That is true.
And then that Switch 2 would have been on a market for 7 years and 6 months. By the time you hit 2033, which in a console life wise is, the PS5 has been out for 5 years. It's got no games, but it's been out for 5 years. Yeah, but but that's flown by. It's absolutely flown by.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah, and I think they're only, even if Sony do move on as rumors are going, the PS5 would have been on the market for 6 years.
Yeah.
Maybe
they
whatever.
might not get a new Naughty Dog game.
It could be on the market for another. In terms of the console spec itself, it could be on the market for for 9 years really, if it really wanted to, as long as they put out the games and focused. But
they'll find another 6 million units in the backyard. Back room.
It's sold. It's sold really well in those 5 years. It's pretty close to the PS4 as far as the pace. But the individual games aren't selling like they used to, as far as from the tracking sources like we have.
It's like a PSP up in this bit. PSP, so
I believe GTA 6 will sell.
They changed their tactic, didn't they? They went, as we know, of all the cancelled live service games that they've done.
Yeah.
They changed their tactics, which I think has thrown their curveball, and they can't.
It's going to hurt them for at least 3 years.
Dig out of it, but 2 years.
But they're still. Did you see that they got another studio that is working on another live service game? You're like, yo, what is wrong with these dudes? Like, when are you gonna? And Marathon's having trouble. Like, bro, what are you guys doing?
They were stealing assets.
How many? You can count on one set of hands. How many live service games are big and survive? Yeah. What do you think you're gonna do? Nobody even thought Helldivers was gonna do well. It did. So even the game that you got to do well, nobody thought was gonna do well. So that's how much of a crapshoot this is. Why are you spending so many resources on this stuff? It's beyond me. I just don't get it. And here, the live service games that you should have kept going are like the Spider-Man one and fucking Last of Us factions. Those are the ones that the fans actually wanted, bitch. What are you doing?
I think Spider-Man is so mainstream enough where you could have had a multiplayer Spider-Man.
That would have worked.
Or they can just make
$1
billion off of Rivals.
Game that's doing really well?
Rivals.
Rivals. Fucking Rivals. Look how well that's doing.
There definitely has.
Look at Marvel. Avengers, that didn't do too well.
No.
That didn't do very well.
Who made Avengers?
So you
it
just
was
don't
Crystal
know.
Dynamics, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
go from
Square
Tomb
Enix
Raiders to
published.
try to make that. But I will say, because we're talking about exclusives, I've fully rinsed Returnal now. I got the expansion. I got completed that. Got all the trophies, and I should have played that sooner. That to me got a little more. That got way more repetitive than the main game because there's only three tower levels, and a lot of the areas repeated a lot more. But I don't know how many hours I put in it this year. Probably close to 40. The Returnal since like a month ago. It's ridiculous. Like
Achievement hope.
honestly, I haven't written anything down, but I see Returnal in my top 20 all-time games. Like, it's just that good. It's definitely the best, Sony exclusive of all time. It's just so good, and I don't really care for the typical roguelikes. I only played a handful, but like it's just some of the best third-person shooting combat and platforming or movement. Like, I was trying to think, like, why wasn't I really excited for Doom: The Dark Ages even back a year ago whenever they showed it, and I'm like, I went back and played 2016, and I just reminded how much I like that more than Eternal. I liked Eternal a lot, but 2016 Doom is still the peak for me. But playing Returnal is like, this is everything I love about Doom, but just I like Returnal more. Like, I don't know if it's the third person stuff or the setting, but it's like everything I loved about Doom, but more. And so yeah, I was looking forward to the game, but I was a little skeptical when the reviews started coming out. There were some issues. They probably rushed it out of some glitches at launch, and people didn't like the difficulty. And initially, you couldn't suspend the cycle. You had to have the game. Had to have the game suspended in your PS5. If the power went out or whatever, or updated, you lost your progress. They added the option like months later to suspend the cycle. You could close the game, put in another game, and come back to it. It's really not that important in the middle of a cycle because it breaks it up into halves. Like, you can do the first 3 biomes, and then no matter what, you start the 4th biome from scratch, just from the story reasons. So it's not as bad as I thought, but I did not expect it. After those early reviews, I was kind of doubting whether I was going to pick it up, and then it turned into like one of my favorite games. So, but anyway, get back to Switch 2.
Making a big thing out of the fans were. Like,
Yeah, I remember the difficulty thing was a big complaint. I get it. I mean, it's in the beginning, it's pretty punishing. So, but Robert, I mean, I looked.
It's up in a good way.
You're the only one on my friends list that has like a decent amount of trophies in the game, like other than I think Robert Rule 2 was the only one that had played it. But either way, Switch 2.
And we had a great time when we played it.
That was fun. I wish we played it more. What do you think it's going to do sales wise? I'm going to start. I don't think it's not going to do as good. It's not going to do as good as Switch 1 for sure. Yeah. I'm kind of torn because my 6-year thing comes, like, if I got to stick with that, then the sales probably going to be lower. I'm going to say 83 million for lifetime when it's all said and done. Which I think they would consider that a letdown, but still.
Some bitch.
I still think it's going to hit over 100 million, Percy. So I'm going to say 113.
Shut the fuck up. That was going to be my number.
You can use it too.
Was it really?
What's going on
Yeah.
here? But you are the same in juice. Goddamn. That's well, there you go.
Retro say 113.2.
No, I'll try to like keep thinking.
Well, just say 114 or 112. Oh, that should be T's. That should be T's number.
Yeah, 112.
My good luck number. So 112. There you go.
But yeah, I'll say 113. Just because I think, also you're not gonna. Well, hopefully we're not gonna have a pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't think that. So I think just you don't have the as low of a price.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you probably cut off a good 40 to 50 million purchases probably.
I'm gonna stick to my 113 million because I'm saying it's gonna do it in 7 years, and you saying 8 years.
Oh, that's true.
Clocked it.
You might get the back.
Another difficult one in there. Joe, I'm thinking, right? You know, it's Nintendo's most expensive console ever. The games are the most expensive ever. But going forward into the future, this platform will probably be the cheapest one.
Yeah.
You know, than what the PS6 will be and what the next Xbox will be.
And potentially by a couple $100 maybe.
And then when it is getting the modern games like the Borderlands 4s and all this stuff, which are already being announced, so you know it's getting these modern games. You know, I think it.
That's a factor too. If third-party support's there, it could really help it.
And third party is there.
Yeah, it depends. And yeah, they are, because they do got the Madden, Madden coming. That's first time.
They're pretty much all there. Difficult because the Switch sold more because also people were buying double consoles. Right, unless you're like T, you're buying quadruple consoles just for himself.
What do you think the
quadruple for his kids, and
the Switch 2 OLED's probably gonna be $550, $600. You know, like it's gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah, and then another thing with this one, you know, will they do a Switch 2 Lite, you know, to help bolster?
That didn't sell that well though, really. I mean, when you think about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why.
No, the Switch Lite done well. It done well in Japan.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be like way closer to 50-50, but I want to say it was like.
Well, it's funny talking about the sales numbers. One of the podcasts I just heard, Juice, you believed in, and actually, a lot of us were kind of in agreement that was like that it potentially will probably just do more than the actual.
I thought the Switch Lite was going to take over in Japan, especially. Yeah. It didn't. The Switch OLED did.
Yeah, the Switch OLED, which is weird, but
I think that's what gave them the confidence to go further with the specs and charge more and with the Switch 2 and have a better.
Yeah, I mean that actually could have been like a testing ground for them. Yeah, maybe it was like a testing ground.
Let's say it sells 100,000 more than a Wii. Or was the Wii was 101 million? So I gotta go 102.
Yeah, I think that's literally like 100 million on the 101 million or something.
Yeah.
What do you think, T? You said 80 something earlier.
Yeah. Well, 84 technically. Yours is 83, and similar factors what Clocked was bringing up. One of them was Switch Lite sold well, but it didn't do what I thought it might do, and so you may not see a reason to do it. I know they could. Because it sold enough, you know, for that to happen. Hell, even this has a light version. I don't know if it's out yet or coming out, where you can't detach the controllers. Is it out? Yeah, you can't detach the controllers, and it's a little bit less. Well, actually, it's powerful. So, but yeah, like that. I think. I think this is what could be a factor in the future, as far as. 8 years from now, who knows what these things are going to look like, right? Like they could have a crazy retail presence what they have now. That's kind of holding them back. And I just think there's no really proper way to say it. I think there's a Wii U situation a little bit going on with the Switch 2, whereas I've talked to like 5 people, kids, who don't even know Switch 2 is a thing. Don't even know it exists, and it's coming out in a month. They're like, wait, this is Switch 2. Like, I think a lot of those people are going to look at it and be like, well, my kids already have a Switch, and I think that happened with the Wii to you, where we got a Wii U. Hell, that happened with the Nintendo to the Super Nintendo, right? Like, I think that's one of the factors why the Super Nintendo didn't do as well as DS did. People forget that it didn't do as well, console sales wise. Was that I remember the fucking
I still remember the interviews with the moms and stuff.
The interview well, they make these new things to make you buy or spend more money, and I'm like,
They're like, it doesn't play the old games.
Right. She was completely against this Super Nintendo. Like, I'm not buying that. Or they already have an NES. They already have a Nintendo. So I think that would be a factor. And we're talking about margins here, but I just think the wow factor of the Switch won't be as wow because of handheld PCs. 8 years. I'm talking 8 years from now. Like, what will these things look like? I think,
and also Sony and
Microsoft
are potentially entering the ring.
Exactly. Sony and Microsoft could say, hey, well, Microsoft is already doing their own handheld, right?
And there's been rumors of a PS6 handheld.
Right.
And they're not going to be
Is that going to like knock off Nintendo Switch? Of course not. But it will take some margins, right?
And the boxes aren't that different between Switch 2 and the red box Switch 1. They're very similar looking. Like, obviously there's a 2, but it's still just
the price.
From
and people are going to go to the store and be like, should I get my grandkid a Switch 2, which is like $500, or do I get him a Switch Lite, which is $180?
I don't think. I remember.
Yeah, but eventually those are going to be off retail. Like,
those will eventually be
3,
gone.
4, 5, 6.
In the first few years, so when people could be buying this thing, it's going to be as most expensive. Obviously, the Switch 2 will be, and I think that hurts. And again, it hurts. We're talking, an extra 10 million out of 160 million. The Switch 1 is going to do. It's gonna affect it to some degree. I think it'll affect the numbers to some degree. It's going to be like the 3DS, right? The DS sold crazy numbers, but you know what happened? Fucking tablets came in and smartphones came in, and that affected some of the DS people who would play those types of games on their DS. And they opted to do that on their fucking cell phones. So that did affect the fact that the DS went from 155 million to the 3DS going to what, 80 million?
Yeah, 78.
Yeah, that's my main factor.
The 3DS felt like, to me, I don't know if we ever talked about this, probably years ago, but I think they rushed that out just to fill the gap after Wii sales tanked and Wii U was still a year out, because that's the only reason I bought a 3DS, just because I wanted something new. I didn't want to wait for the Wii U, and it didn't have really anything at launch. Like, you had Pilot Wings Resort, Street Fighter 4, I think.
3D capable hardware? That's never happened before. Virtual Boy.
That face ranges, that's all that matters.
But anyway, there was something I wanted to talk about, and then I just forgot. I remembered it a minute ago, and now I forgot about it. Forgot it again.
Wait, hold on. What did you predict though, T? The number?
He did. He said 80.
Mine was 84.
84.
Oh, it was 84. Okay. What did you predict this, or you?
Yeah, I said 83. I started
83.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. See, I'm going right.
What the hell? Well, next thing.
No one's thinking 90s. Everyone's either the 80s or the 100s.
What do you guys think for we have confirmation of Borderlands will be day and date. We assume Madden will be day and date.
Well, with Madden,
do you expect?
Is it already out? No.
No, Madden won't come out until like August or something. Do we expect like consistent day and date type games now? Or are we gonna still think there's gonna be a period where some developers probably are gonna be catching up and others are gonna, depending on how the games sell too. Period. But with that game key card, they they don't have to pay that Switch tax, so that could be a factor that makes them decide to release their game.
Well, we went for a whole gen, didn't we? In many aspects, debating, should the Switch have been the lead platform to begin with many of these third-party games, because the sales were just night and day on these platforms compared to to what the Switch was getting. We're in such turbulent times. It's a strange world now, isn't it? Like, everything's more expensive. Everything feels, just crazy stuff. So it's just like, how's gaming gonna, navigate through all of this? And, I don't know, man.
Because also they got to compete with Nintendo's own games. That's also another issue. It's not just. Like, if their release date's the same as Mario, is like, isn't it? Let's say the release date's the same as, next 3D Mario, like whatever game, Capcom game or something, that'd be tough. They could change the release date for all platforms. Like Capcom could change the date to to have a better time slot or a date, But
I don't know. Everyone done so well on the Switch. Japan done really well on the Switch. Even Western Studios done really well on the Switch. And I know it's going back to the old, that like T says, the old novelty of what the Switch was, which we all knew was, obviously one of the biggest selling points of the system. We're going to be seeing, right, in its first year and two, we're going to be seeing, how this thing carries over. I'm always skeptical, how many people jump over to the next Nintendo platform. We've never, it's never been consistent, is it? Never been consistent.
Yeah, we could have tried to guess like the first month or two sales too.
Again, my theory of evolution or revolution and evolution, right? The Switch was the revolution. The Switch 2 is the evolution. Every fucking time you can go back to the beginning, the evolution does not sell as well as the revolution did. That's just how it's gone. That's a lot of also where I'm coming this with. So I'm just going off of the history of what's been happening. We can argue semantics and anecdotal evidence and all that stuff, but I'm just looking at it from that standpoint.
Even in the handhelds.
The handhelds are the same, right? The Game Boy Advance did not sell nearly what the Game Boy did, the original Game Boy. So this is just how it goes.
We've always had the one consistent one with which is Sony, right? PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4. They've remained consistent. And at the end of the day, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget that we got the Switch 2, which is the first numbered
PS3 was a drop.
Nintendo platform. Juice asked for it. Just saying, perhaps just going 1, 2, 3 is what will get that consistency in sales across generations and stuff like.
Excuse me, the N64 was numbered. It literally has a number in it.
Yeah. And I remember working in retail, people saying, number 64, what the hell? It's just
yeah, if you didn't know what the reference was, it's probably...
I didn't get the 63. When did that come out?
What about, let's go, instead of third party, let's go just the first 3 months sales. Like, you think the Switch 2 is going to come out on fire? So, 10 million, 20 million, 15 million, 5 million? So
but aren't they predicting 20 million by March of next year?
That's their expectation. But first 3 months, you got June to July, August into September 5th.
20 million.
20.
How?
That
means that
Mario Kart.
I get that, but they need to have 20 million out there. I don't think they're gonna have 20 million.
Well, I mean, if they don't have it, then whatever they have.
3 months, but that's a big thing. 3 months, they're gonna have 20 million.
He said 20 million. Let him have it.
All right. If they're predicted 20 million for the whole year or till March, I don't see how they're going to somehow.
Well,
like
I said, if they don't have the numbers, then it can go higher. But I mean, let's say they have infinite numbers, and
this is worldwide, so
absolutely.
Well,
they didn't sell over 2 million in Japan. They had demand for over 2 million. People keep missing.
Exactly, if demand.
The demand was like 2.2. They couldn't meet it. So yeah, they'll probably if they had the stock. So that'd be 2.
Yeah, if they had the stock, but I just can't imagine
as
them
we
having
know,
the stock.
Nintendo owned Japan, right? They got. There's no competition for Nintendo in Japan. Not even fucking PlayStation.
Literally.
They're literally that's their market. They own
nuts.
it.
Even now,
we
like
know
one of their best-selling games is still Switch. One PS5.
We know the Japanese are crazy hyped for the Switch too. I think this is where I kind of slightly disagree with T, in the sense of that the hype around the console now. Retro keeps mentioning Mario Kart. Now, my boss in work, at the end of the day, he's my manager. He's got the money and stuff. But he came up to me. He said, "Just let me know what's going on the Switch 2 because I can't be me and my kids. We can't be missing out on Mario Kart World. It looks incredible." And he's a normie when it comes to games for the most part. Yeah, he managed to get a pre-order.
Oh, did he?
But we got other retailers, in the UK here as well and stuff. And like I said, we can get caught up once again, like we do online, all the negative stuff, about the price and stuff like this and everything. But ultimately, it'll be the casual markets who will sell this console, right? We know the Nintendo hard base, fan base, the hardcore Nintendo fan base is between
13
10
million.
and 12 million, 13
Whatever
million,
the
right?
Wii U sold, that's
The
what
Yeah, whatever the Wii U
hardcore,
sold.
yeah, whatever the Wii. Well, I say that well, the
13.
Wii U sold 13 million.
Hardest of hardcore.
I
A lot of
I
those
take
guys.
away a few because you know,
Yeah.
you will have normies in there. So that's why I would say about
Yeah.
10 million
So, like-
strong. Let's just say during the Switch generation now,
Oh,
you know, we
that's
got
great.
some new diehard Nintendo fans who are just like, oh my god, I love Animal Crossing. Oh my god, I love Zelda. Oh my god, I've missed this all my life. This is it. This is my life now. I need nothing else. You know, so we bump up now to 13 million, right? that's the hardcore Nintendo fan base, right? You know, so we need every platform needs the normies, and you know, I think the console's got to do well. It's just, as always, it's just that longevity, right? What can Nintendo keep pumping out? If they can support, if they can get people to keep buying Mario Kart 8 just with DLC and reselling it and repackaging it and stuff like that, you know, let's see what they do with Mario Kart World, for God's sakes. You know, it's you know, how they move that through the generation, through 6-7 years as we're predicting here for this console to survive for, you know, and stuff, you know.
So 3 months,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
my only
say.
thing with Mario Kart World though is I would be curious if some of those very casual players may be off put at the fact that it is like an open world and all the time, and it's not just, oh, let's just play courses. Come on, I want to race in Mario Kart. It's
I
like,
think it's the opposite. Casual
I can see either way,
people
but that's
like
I can see
kids,
it go
you
either
know,
way.
I can
You
see
can
people.
drive stress-free.
I can see people being
racing.
turned off by an open world.
I can see
But-
people who bought the game 3 years ago and just got all these new tracks saying, "Well, I don't need it for a couple years. I got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like, I'm still playing it." I mean, I can see that as well.
I'm not that, because I think again we're in the year of like people yearly updates and constant new thing. I want new. I want new.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Fortnite. I mean,
And
I mean,
I disagree with that as well.
I don't think that one. I think you can release a Mario Kart every year and people will be fine with it.
Yeah, this is the medium, right? You know, I don't think there's that many people who say, "Oh, I've still got Mario
Well, if you
Kart.
got a
I don't need
household
anything
full
else,
of
and I don't move on."
Like at my neighbor, he bought the Switch a couple years ago for Mario Kart, and his kids are range from driving to like 3-4 years old, and I don't see him like buying multiple Switch 2s for his kids to play Mario Kart World. You know, when they're, you know, playing. I don't know if they still play. They're very much outdoor playing soccer all the time.
That was a big part of Switch. I have 7 in my house.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
that was a big part of
there's
Switch
gonna be
to selling.
to a degree. I'm
It's
not
gonna be
saying
hard to sell multiple when the fucking thing is $500. I mean, it's gonna be hard
Yeah.
to sell. That's a hard sell.
I said it
So-
myself in one of my last videos. I said, you know, there's no way in this house we got a Switch or we got 2 Switch lights. I've told everyone already, unless something happens, there's only gonna be 1 Switch 2 in this house.
And who gets to
You know,
play
it's-
it?
I asked my kids, they don't even want to switch to. They don't even care. Like that, to me, that's crazy to me. Love Switches, but they don't even care about a Switch 2 at this point.
They will
That
when
could change, obviously.
there's like a must-have Switch 2 only, like for them. I'm not
Yeah.
saying they're
I'm saying that. I'm just saying
whatever
that could
that
change,
game
but
is.
right now, I'm hearing about all this momentum that the Switch has. Why, you know, again, this is anecdotal, but my kids are Switch kids. They love the Switch, but they could. My son is a PC gamer at this point. He don't care about that shit no more. My daughter, she doesn't really care. It doesn't seem like she cares. She just wants to play her certain Switch games with her friends.
I feel like
And
funny
I
enough,
get
my
friends
kids
buy
were the
one.
same when we first watched the Switch 2 reveal trailer and I showed it to them. They're like, "So it's just a bigger Switch?" It's like, yeah, it pretty much looks like it at the moment. So they were in that bracket, and then funny enough, which will pump up retro, when they saw Mario Kart World, they went, "Oh yeah, that looks amazing! I can't wait to play
I
it."
gotta have that.
Yeah, that's why it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I say that, but then I think about Minecraft. I think about Grand Theft Auto 5. I think about, you know, even Fortnite and stuff where you do have these bigger worlds that people do like to. So I guess I'll take that back. To be fair, people do like the big open worlds. To be fair,
Mhm.
I mean, literally, some of the biggest games
casuals
of all
love
time
big open
are big
worlds.
open worlds. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, again,
Casuals love big
Minecraft
open
by
worlds.
itself is, you know, 300
So let's get
million.
everybody's first 3 months. I'm gonna say 11 million by September 5th. I think that's a pretty good number.
What is it?
Switch
What-
to
what is it?
11 million
Switch 2s, by God damn.
By when?
September 5th.
September.
I'm gonna say 8.
8 million.
Yeah, mine is 7. Lock me in.
Jace.
I could even see 7. I think 7 makes about. I'll say I'll just stick with 8.
11 million in 3 months sounds like
3 months is a lot.
staggering amount of consoles. My God,
it's better than 20 million.
So let's.
I mean, if you do 3 million a month, that'd be 9 minimum. That's worldwide, so that's kind of where I just added a couple on top. But
Nintendo even
could
have
be
that
5
many.
million. I mean,
but that's what I'm saying. It could be 5 million. It could
My
be
brain,
5.
my
Kids
brain is
didn't
on
care
6.
about the launch of Switch
I'm
1.
gonna go with 6, and I don't care if I'm wrong. It's just
that's why it depends on how many units they have. I think the Switch 2 isn't gonna sell. I think Mario Kart is gonna sell. That's what it is.
And then I think the Animal Crossing crowd will probably be ready for that next game in a year or two. Like,
dude,
yeah,
100%.
That's a
if
big
that
audience.
Animal Crossing hits, I'm telling you, the Switch,
whatever
the Switch sales are gonna be, it's gonna at least double when Animal Crossing comes out.
It's gonna, but the whole thing is it's got a momentum. It's got a snowball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not everyone's gonna care about buying a Switch 2, right? Because we're again we're the hardcore Nintendo fan. We want to buy this. I can't wait. But majority of people don't give a shit. So it's like it's got a snowball into that, and it's okay. Like, people are going to buy this year 4, and it's not gonna matter. So it's like it's just, you gotta wait.
Well, it's like just saying, okay, because I made the point about my kids don't care about a Switch 2. And he said, well, kids didn't care about Switch 1, but about Switch 1 kids. They're Switch 1 kids now. They should care about Switch 2, right? You would think they would care about it at this point. They didn't, I don't know how you factor that in. The kids didn't care about Switch 1. I thought they were pretty excited for it, but because it looked like something that was up kids' alley, a handheld console like play on the TV as well. That seemed like, I thought kids were pretty excited for it. But anyway, even if they weren't, let's say they weren't, now they're Switch kids. Right? Those kids who didn't care are Switch kids. Wouldn't they care about the next iteration of their Switch?
And this is
they don't seem to.
This is the era of new smartphones, new tablets, that's. I don't know anybody directly in my friends, family, and stuff that buys a new phone every year. I know a guy who does upgrade his Apple products every year or two.
He used to.
His whole family.
Yes.
The new Apple 4K TV comes out every year. He gets it, or not every year, but every time it does. And I'm like, I'm still.
It's still a 4K.
And
he just keeps getting a new 4K TV.
And it's like,
that seems kind of stupid.
I mean, mine still works fine. Like, I hate to be like, right. I always make fun of my parents. Like, I don't need it. My TV still works. Well, it's a 25-inch big wooden cabinet in the era of, flat panels and stuff. I was like, it's time to get a new TV. I had to talk them into it. And once me and my brother and I think my other brother went in on for a Christmas present. It was like a plasma. It was like 42-inch. And, she loved it, but she had no reason to get a new TV or it still worked, like that. I could see that for some people maybe, but with gaming, with technology, that's kind of like the MetaQuest. Like, you got a new MetaQuest, they come out with a new one. Yeah, you can still play your old one, but if a new one comes out, people want the newest, latest, and greatest, the best. You
want the graphics and the frame rates,
and I hate. Casuals will eventually, if this doesn't take off and there's some kind of negative connotation or whatever surrounding the Switch 2, yeah. But if there's any little bit of hype or excitement, the casuals will come. It's. I don't know how you can predict that stuff. It's really hard. Obviously, games can come out. People expect to be big, and then games no one ever heard of can be the biggest, like some of the biggest games of all time. You just never know. But I wouldn't say that, casuals don't, it's a Switch 2, that casuals don't care. The casuals are the ones that I would say care about that stuff just as much. Like, I mean, I dated a girl who years ago, she couldn't wait to get her new phone. Like, every 2 years when her contract was up, she was so excited. I'm like, it's still like, that was literally me. Like, why do you need a new phone? This was before smartphones. Like, this was back a long time ago, going into smartphones. I'm like, just because your contract's up, you don't have to pay for the phone anymore. You just pay for your monthly bill. Like, why do you need a new phone every single time? You know, it's like, it was crazy to me. But some people are like that.
I think in terms of what I mean by like casuals aren't going to be as excited as the
in the beginning,
the
yeah.
people that bought a Wii U. Like, again, we're a very specific kind of group of individuals. You know what I mean? That's just who we are, you know. And like, I don't think you're gonna get that, like, once you see people out in the wild with the Switch and a Switch 2 and people like, oh, I'm playing rides. It's kind of like word of mouth stuff again. Once that starts to kind of snowball again, and then again, like a new Pokemon game, like, again, there's not going to be a generation where a new Pokemon game comes out and a bunch of people don't just jump on board automatically because of that.
Yeah.
You know, so it just has to do things over time. And regardless, like, I mean, these dudes are projecting 20 million, which would be one of the highest of all time. So and so if that is true, 20 million, you're already at ahead of almost everybody.
Did 20 million its first year. Maybe not even.
But they're not even talking about the first year. They're doing remember it's
till March,
June, March or whatever. It's crazy. So like it from what I've read is that it would be like almost or like the second fastest of all time or something, like, if it reaches 20. And a lot of analysts, I mean, we don't know how, but a lot of people feel that Nintendo's being very conservative with that number, and they think it's gonna be more than 20 million. Or I don't know if that'd be the case. It just depends on how much stock they got. But I totally believe that this first year is going to go crazy. It's just about that year 2, 3, 4, 5 to see how they'll continue that momentum. I'll be curious, but I think there's no chance. I guess there's a chance, but I truly believe you'll see this at least hit 100 million, because in the end of the day, like, if the 3DS could sell 75, I think you add another 25 for a Switch console, just because of I always talk about combining handle, and to me that shit is 100 million by itself. But again, that's me. We'll see. We'll have to find out in by 2033.
I don't even want to.
I'm not using, like, does it really matter to me no, I don't really care. I bought a fucking Wii U. I don't care about the fucking sales. But I'm only using, you know, the evidence that I've had in it. I'm not using I hope, or, oh man, I really love the Switch, so the Switch 2 therefore will do much better than it. I'm using historical data here, which is the reiterate console does not sell as well. It still sells well. It's okay, people. It's still gonna sell well. I know that. But I'm saying it's not going to sell. I don't think it's going to sell 160 million. You know, I just don't think that's going to happen. So
I mean, hey, but maybe like
I don't think that's crazy.
Maybe this would be the one time, just like PS2 actually did more than PS1. Yeah, maybe this will be the one.
I'm not fighting against that at all. I'm just saying.
No. I'm just saying. Who knows? We don't know what the hell's going to happen. But
yeah, get Nintendogs 2 out there.
The evidence points to closer to what I'm saying than it is to, it's going to sell 108 million. That's what points closer to what I'm talking about than what people hope will happen. Which, you know, I don't care either way.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I just, you know, hopefully they've planned out.
I don't give a shit.
I don't want another 2018 situation where, you know, it's ports and a couple smaller like sports game. What was it? Tennis and Mario Party.
Kirby Star Allies, and then like Smash at the end.
And I think Super Mario Party.
Yeah, in December.
Oh, yep.
I definitely agree with what T says, that it's not going to do the same numbers as the original Switch because of like T's theory, the evolution revolution thing. I do, however, think it's easy going to do these crazy numbers because we're still in a console handheld thing. Like, you need the Switch 2 for Pokemon, you need the Switch 2 for Animal Crossing, you need the Switch 2 for these games that used to be handheld. So we still have a consolidated market. That's why it's easy gonna do crazy numbers.
That's true.
There's no way. It's not like what Robert said. Pokemon is a system seller, and we're gonna get the 3D Mario for the other crowds. If they release an Animal Crossing again, like, I don't even want to say if they need to, but we don't know what's gonna happen. If they release that, the numbers are gonna be fucking nuts. Nintendo saw what the Switch did because of that combined market, and there's no way they're gonna let that go because they know that that's where the sales are.
So let me ask this
It's
then.
90 million, not crazy numbers. Like, all those people aren't playing Pokemon. If that was the case, Pokemon would be selling 80, 90 million units,
I
right?
think
But it didn't.
9 to 100.
So 30 million? 30 million is...
No, but yeah, but that's what I mean. But it is
big.
a system seller. That's what I mean. Pokemon is
Yeah,
a system
of course
seller.
it is.
That's
I'm
like
not
millions
at all.
and millions of people who only
It's
fucking
adding
play
to...
Pokemon.
Yeah, it added to what the Switch would have.
Yeah, because with the if there was a
without those
handheld
things.
out there, that
Of course.
they all sold on the handheld.
Right. Of
So
course.
let me ask this question: is there going to be a Switch 2 game that's either a direct sequel or just the next in the IP that could potentially outsell the best-selling Switch 1, Mario game or
I'm gonna say no.
Donkey Kong game? Could Donkey Kong Bonanza outsell Tropical Freeze port?
Oh, that yeah. I think yeah. I mean, I think the only one would
I
probably
think that's
be Donkey Kong.
I think that's that one, but that was just the first one. But is there
How
something
much
else?
did Odyssey sell? How much did Odyssey
Like
sell?
20 something.
It was like
30?
27.
I'm gonna say the next 3D Mario will outsell Odyssey.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna make that claim.
Really?
I mean, that's a lot, man.
What it'd have to be
Just
one
because
of
you
the.
just hate Odyssey. That's
I
why
could see like
'cause you not as-
Luigi's Mansion 4 potentially, like depending on
Oh,
what
it's
they
sold,
do with
it's
it.
sold 29 million. That's a high
29.
thing. Yeah.
If
that's
like
high,
a
man.
game where they
It's definitely one thing to keep into mind. The fact that many Nintendo franchises now are turned into Megaton franchises, which they weren't before, like the Animal Crossings, like Smash, and everything like that. These, it's easy to forget the hype of what Smash generated in the Switch era. Those that was like events. The industry wanted to be there. Every game show relied on a Smash reveal. Like it's just everyone. Smash was huge.
Be good.
Oh,
Animal Crossing saved people from mental breakdown in their homes.
Oh
Like
yeah,
so.
yeah.
And even Breath of the Wild got people into Zelda. You're talking about like open world Mario Kart and how people, I can't remember if you said whether they don't like open world games, but open world Zelda actually got more people to play Zelda. Because even like my wife, when she first played it, she was like, it's the fact that I can take my time and decide where I want to go more than anything else was the driving factor to that game. If even if you do that with Mario Kart or Free Roam or whatever, just say, I don't have to do races now. I could just drive around, just do whatever I want and explore this Nintendo world and stuff. I'm not saying it's gonna be, as up there with like the impact that Breath of the Wild done or anything, but there is that
Yeah,
factor.
don't do that. I thought that was your go.
No. But it's the fact that that we have seen these Nintendo IPs flourish beyond anything that we'd ever seen before. So it just goes into the whole, will this roll over? I'm still skeptical, in terms, like I said, people are fickle and don't stick around. They'll just follow wherever beat they want. But if it does carry over, then a Megaton would be a new Animal Crossing, and that could in many ways entice people more than a bloody new Pokemon, or anything like that. It's just it could be. It's the fact that we have an idea of what's coming this year. We know what's coming at the start. We have an idea of what should be coming towards the end, and then next year, then what have these teams been working on to keep that momentum going? And that's what I mean. That first 2 years, will be the deciding factor, I think.
Yeah. I still don't think any game will pretty much like I can't.
Pretty much.
I
Yeah.
can't
That sounds
see
like you're not
somebody's game.
sure.
I think you'll get close, but I just can't imagine. There's no chance Mario Kart World is outselling Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I think there's no chance.
I don't think either.
Because it's
That I
just
don't
so
think so.
high.
$80, kiss my ass.
Well, but even if it was let's say the
60
bundle was alive,
million is ridiculous.
but let's say the bundle was like the only the only bundle for the entirety of the lifetime of Switch. I just don't see like that's just oh my god, that is so much.
Nintendo
man. It's
will
so
put
many.
him
At
that
that,
bundle
at
to
that
the end
point,
of the
I
year.
don't know. At that point, that's a pack-in. That's a Wii Sports.
It
could reach it at that
more
point.
Money. It's still more money than the base console. So to me, like regardless, I don't see. I don't know, man. I don't.
Super Mario Brothers sold like 6 million because of it being a pack-in. Like, I think it could definitely do it if it was a pack-in for the life of the system, or at least get close.
It would probably get closer, but I still think it's gonna get like. I mean, it's still gonna be like
70 million though, bro. That's
I mean, I still think it'll hit halfway. Regardless. But I can't see that shit going to 70 mil again. That just sounds insane.
What's the highest selling Kirby game on Switch?
I'm assuming it's Forgotten Land, but let's see.
I think Forgotten Land is the highest selling Kirby ever, I think.
Of all time.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm sure it is.
It is. And it deserves it.
Yeah, it is. 7.
I think someone mentioned in the comments like the movies and stuff like that. Now we know there's a new Mario movie coming out. We know there's a new Zelda movie coming out.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering,
where's Kirby?
They've got this other avenue now of getting more eyes on their IPs and stuff, right? But when the Mario movie came out, we saw Nintendo doing their best trying to pimp Odyssey again, and then trying to pimp Wonder and stuff like that, right? And I don't think people, bit. As much as they would have liked to help bolster those sales. So, the other factor
they were a little late in that, no?
They were.
They didn't do it like right away.
They were. So, will factors like this be a thing on their mind now? We know. When did they confirm Mario Movie 2? Is it like next year?
27.
It's April 2026.
Oh, it is?
April 2026. Yeah. So if they try to now,
less than a year,
we haven't heard anything about 3D Mario or anything.
Exactly, yeah.
And Zelda, they confirmed
that could be a new,
already.
yeah, that could be a new all eyes on me generation of boosting these games, right? So
they were smart. That's what they do.
Yeah, we know how well movie tie-ins can do when they actually release on time and stuff like that. But Nintendo had never been great at releasing things, at the best of times when you think that they should, whether it's anniversaries or anything, So.
Yeah, they didn't even. They ignored the Zelda. What was it, 35th or 40th? What was the last Zelda anniversary?
No,
that's 40th.
No, 35th, I think. But 40th is coming up, 87.
I thought the original Zelda was 85 or 86.
No, it's 86. I feel like it's 87, but I could.
Okay. But they didn't do anything for the 35th, I don't think. They did some Skyward Sword.
So 35th. As long as they get the 30th, they get the 10s. I'm good.
Yeah.
25th is a kind of a big one. They got that right. That was 25th.
That
was Ocarina of Time 3D, right?
Also,
wasn't the 25th like Skyward Sword and stuff?
Ocarina of Time 3D.
I thought Skyward Sword with the gold.
Yeah, I think Skyward Sword was like the 25th anniversary, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
I think Skyward Sword was
the same year.
It's
the same year.
Oh,
that was the
same year.
For Majora's for Ocarina and I'm
saying it because I remember Robin Williams and his daughter doing commercials, and it was like a big thing. It was like the 25th anniversary. That's what I thought I remembered anyway.
That's true.
So that would have been 2011, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because that came out the same year as the 3DS. So that would have been so it's 86 then. That's 20. So it's 86.
So it's gonna be, there's gonna be a lot of.
I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I can remember this.
Yeah. I can tell you when Donkey Kong Country released.
You can still have the best-selling ones in the franchise if you release a new Star Fox. Boom, that's the best-selling.
Right.
Over
if
Switch
you release
One,
a new F-Zero, boom, that's the best-selling. Stuff like that. Ones that you still haven't done yet. Like I think Donkey Kong, that has a very good chance of becoming the best-selling Donkey Kong.
And 64 at one point had the best-selling franchise games, the N64. So.
Well, because Donkey Kong, what's the best-selling Donkey Kong? Would it be probably Donkey Kong Country
Returns,
1?
I think.
Country 1.
I don't know. I feel like
Returns
1.
Is at 6.
I feel like
I
feel like Donkey Kong Country 1 is even higher.
I think that was like around 6. I think Returns was around 7.
5 million, I think.
It sold 9.8 million copies.
and Switch?
Which one?
Country 1.
That sold 9?
SNES. Yeah.
Oh no, it's Returns. I'm thinking.
I wonder if that includes any of the Game Boy ports or anything.
I mean, not that it says here, but I don't know.
That's way higher than I thought.
No, I figured that's what I was saying. I knew that was like the highest,
that was
but I
late in
wasn't
the
too
Super
sure.
Nintendo's life. It was popular, almost 10 million.
Yeah, they put out one every year.
Wasn't that like from what I remember people talking about like that was like the game that was like holy shit.
Well, Donkey Kong Country.
People would look at the Genesis and they'd be like, "How look at
It
us?
was
Look at us!"
compared to the PlayStation.
When Donkey Kong, I always say like with the Mega Drive and the SNES. You know me, I was a big Sega fan, right? I had way more games for my Mega Drive than I had for my SNES, and that was a price thing as well. Mega Drive games were just cheaper, secondhand and stuff like that. But when the SNES took over the Mega Drive for me, in terms of just quality of stuff, it wasn't like Super Mario World. It wasn't even like Link to the Past. When you started seeing shit like Star Fox, and you started seeing shit like Donkey Kong Country. It's just like, man, this is just night and fucking day, man. This is just.
Wait a minute.
I still haven't played that on my.
Like that's. This looks better than my 32X. Why is the game?
I say those games. I say those games. You know, like even at the start, like with Pilot Wings and F-Zero and Link to the Past and all this stuff. You know, you could see the difference between the SNES and the Mega Drive, but then the Mega Drive was still hitting out its bangers as well. You know, whether it's like a Streets of Rage 2s, and Sonic 2 and all that. Sonic 2 was just hype for me. Jesus Christ, it was fucking just
Sonic 2 was hype for everyone.
Yeah, and that game still looks and sounds stunning for.
That's the one that had the little kind of faux 3D where you had to get the.
Yeah, there's pseudo 3D, but at the time, this is 3D, man. This is 3D. Oh my god!
Chaos Emerald ones.
Yeah,
shit was amazing back.
But yeah, just the quality of the SNES software over time, just started absolutely pelting the Mega Drive, at least in the UK, towards the end of their lives and stuff.
Yeah, you kept between.
Well, to be fair, Sega, the Genesis came out in '89, right? And the Super Nintendo's '91.
Yeah, it came out way before, yeah.
Yeah, so by the time it started really punching, they had moved on, already working on Saturn. You know, they had dropped the 32X in Japan.
Yeah, so... but I just remember that transition of me starting to love my SNES more than my Mega Drive, and I love them both. Yeah. You know, I absolutely love them both, but you know, it's just I just remembered it.
All right, well, we're at 2 hours. It was having a good discussion, but I don't know if you want to keep going. I know.
Talking
about Sonic 2.
I will say
Sonic 2 is amazing, folks. It was the best, still to me, the best Sonic game there is.
I can't remember which one I got on the Virtual Console on Wii. I think it was 2. It might have been 3 though. And I never got into this. I never really played them when they were new, and I just tried one on the Wii with the terrible classic controller, and I didn't give it much effort. For $7-8 it was, I think. I was gonna say
those games weren't cheap even.
I barely played it. I just couldn't get into it. But I do remember my friend had a Genesis, and he had Sonic Spinball. He had FIFA 94. He had that Jurassic Park game, like the side-scrolling with the Raptors. We never could beat it. And what else did he had? Maybe one other game. And all we played FIFA 94, we played that Jurassic Park, and we played the Sonic pinball game. That's my main memories.
Spinball, yeah.
And then another buddy became friends a few years later. He had one, and he had the X-Men game, and I was so jealous of it because it looked so much more realistic than the Super Nintendo like cartoony one.
X-Men, the first one.
It had Gambit.
I already played on the Mega Drive.
And I was like,
it's amazing on the Mega Drive.
I was so jealous over that versus the more animated style, which I bet you going back now, the Super Nintendo one probably holds up better visually. I was so jealous of that because I was watching the X-Men cartoon, and Gambit was like my favorite character. And he looked so good in that game. Let's go. And
how do we know each other this long and I don't know Gambit's your? It's my favorite fucking X-Men. Get the fuck out of here.
Well,
yeah, he was a G back in the day.
That's probably the best aspect of Deadpool Wolverine was, the potential they could have had a good Gambit.
That's
I love
crazy to
it.
me.
Well,
Remy LeBeau is
he's
my
gonna
guy.
be
Are
in.
you kidding?
He's in Doomsday.
Is he?
He's in Avengers Doomsday.
He needs to be in the next Men
Yeah.
movie, but
I was so mad when he canceled his movie. Like, man.
Hey man, he's coming back, bro. He's coming back. He's on
He's
the
coming
set.
back. So
Like, I fucking hate that one. I think it's in the Wolverine movie, but I was like, holy shit, finally Gambit. That scene he's sitting with Wolverine at the table, man, it's so fucking satisfying. He's
actor
like throwing his cards in the air and shit. So
wasn't that the guy from John Carter?
Taylor Kitsch from John Carter. Yeah, yeah. I liked his bit. He just didn't get used in a shitty movie.
But yeah, I was always jealous of certain Genesis games, and then that friend of I was just talking about had the X1 game. We rented the virtual racing after playing in the arcade. It was kind of a late edition before, when the arcades were still going. It was so mind-blowing in the arcade, it was like this. I don't think it had the wraparound screen, but in my memory it did. Like it was like this visceral sound, amazing sound. So we're like, all right, let's rent it for the Genesis. And it was like, it was nothing. I mean, it was still good, but it was nothing compared to that arcade experience. And it was $100.
The first full 3D political racing game.
And it was $100 brand new because of that. They had just like this FX chip. They had to have their own extra chip in it, and it was a huge cartridge. And that's some of my fondest memories, though. I never had one myself.
We need to talk about that one episode too. By the way,
see, you were playing Sega games
back in the day. That's $90. And like, shut the fuck up talking about that. Like, why that shit was $90. It was, come on. Because there's actual fucking hardware set in your goddamn cartridge, not your goddamn plate.
It's actually like, I don't know what it'd be equivalent to. It wasn't like a GPU in there, but it was definitely some expensive tech in there to get it to work. They could have just saved it for the 32X. I think did the 32X have a version of Virtua Racing?
It did come to 32X, yeah.
But anyway. Also, shout out to
you gotta get a RGT book on the 32X. Shoutouts.
I gotta give
a book.
Clock did a quick shout out based on my recommendation. It was a tough sell, but started watching Andor, and you got through season 1 pretty quick. And I was pleased to see.
I binge watched that in like 2-3 days.
I mean, it is a show that's better if you can watch, because I can't imagine watching one at a time, because there's a couple episodes that don't really go anywhere specifically.
Yeah, I can imagine not going back to it, right? If I was waiting for those once a week or something, because there are some slow episodes, and some episodes I just don't even need to be there. I don't think. It's like I've started season 2 now.
First 2 episodes are skippable. Season 2.
Yeah, but it's like it starts off and
or
without any like crazy spoilers or anything, he ends up on some planet and can't get off for the time being. I'm just like, why is this even going on?
It was pointless.
What's the point of this?
Somebody told me I don't know, the creators told them that they wanted to show you how bad a state the rebellion was in at that point, and that group was like a faction of the rebellion, and how disorganized they were. It didn't come across that way at all. It was just like, what is this?
It just feels like a bunch of randos. It just doesn't work. So.
I finished it, I don't know, maybe before last week's podcast, I don't remember. By the end, I mean, by the 3rd episode, I was getting invested in season 2, and after that, to me, every 3 episode stretch was amazing. The 10th episode was my favorite. Everyone seems to love the 8th one the best, but that show painted such a I never really thought about the Empire. I just rewatched Star Wars because I watched Rogue One. Now I watch Star Wars again. Yeah, they take out an entire planet Alderaan to prove a point. They're bad, but to see like the inner workings, kind of like the middle management, I call them, kind of like the things come down from the top. They got to make it happen, and the people who work for the Empire, the guy's in charge, all of a sudden he messes up. Now he's on the chopping block. Like, it's just, I find it very interesting. You're always seeing stormtroopers. You're always seeing like the council from the prequels, like that room where Yoda and Palpatine fight.
Well, that's kind of how it is for fascist regimes. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how it goes.
And I didn't really, when the show was announced, I'm like, I don't know that they should have called it Andor. Like, I don't know what name they could have gone with, but it just is the origin story of the rebellion and showing you the Empire for what they are. They're just ruthless, and it's just to me, it's very interesting. It's
they were just like Nazi Germans, were they? That was the whole point of them.
He was the most interesting thing about Rogue One, I guess, and he wasn't even the star. Do you remember Jen Erso?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think
remembers her.
I think he's a really good actor, and I love like
it should have been his movie. Just saying, it should have been his movie.
But rewatching Star Wars,
I probably liked it better.
Like, I hadn't watched the original Star Wars in quite a few years, and what was George Lucas doing with the prequels? If you just that scene where Luke meets Obi-Wan, where Luke meets Obi-Wan, and he's talking about his dad and his uncle, and Obi-Wan were all like, sounds like they were all lived in the same place. They all knew each other, and then like they went off to go fight in the war. Like, why did he stick with that? Why did he have to make Anakin just be some?
He didn't even remember
Jesus child,
that's why.
And
he didn't remember what was going on in those movies.
It's like, just rewatch your own movie, because that sounded so much more interesting than what he did.
It was very interesting.
It's because of the
That's why everybody was so excited.
So to this day, I know
they saw that stuff.
I was disappointed when I watched. I don't think it was Andor. Maybe it was season 1 of Andor. It was something I watched, and I was like, I kind of think Disney Star Wars is aware that the prequels aren't beloved, and they can probably distance themselves a little bit. Maybe it might have been Ahsoka. Yeah. And in the beginning, they did like things that have happened in the Star, and they were really focused on the prequels. And I'm like, I kind of thought.
Yeah. Did you watch Obi-Wan? They gave a shit about the prequels big time. So
maybe it was that
show. I think you're underestimating how popular the prequels actually are.
They are popular for a lot of people,
but to me, they're not. I don't even.
They're absolutely beloved. Absolutely.
Not absolutely beloved.
Yeah, the second generation.
The third movie
Star Wars
is beloved.
A lot of people.
Not the
my
first
friend,
two.
They are.
I'm sure they're young. There's a people who grew up as that being their.
There's
their
a lot of there's a huge famous for the prequels.
Because I just want to say, like, because
especially Revenge of the Sith, though.
There was a lot of
exactly,
negativity,
like, Anakin's journey and everything. Because I rewatched the Star Wars movie last 2 weeks, all 3 the original ones. There's a fucking 15-minute trash compactor scene in like the first movie, I think. So, like, even the original trilogy has kind of big ass.
It was long. And yeah, the original. That scene is like annoys me. I get bored with that.
Absolutely.
There's stuff, but there's not like mind-numbing shit happening to where you're like, oh, what are you doing?
But just to hear how simple or how not true to that the prequels stuck to that, just the Obi-Wan explaining what happened to his father, and just like, why change that? Like you said, he didn't remember.
That conversation was huge, like super interesting, and I'm like, oh man, that would be.
They were all like they all knew each other, and then Obi-Wan and Anakin went off to fight. Like, whatever. It's just weird.
You want to know how big the prequels are for some people, that they re-released Revenge of the Sith.
Well, that everybody loves. I know that one's loved.
It's the anniversary, though.
It is Revenge of the Sith, but it was one of the highest grossing re-releases, like. Or the highest of the week or something. Yeah.
Like I really liked Revenge of the Sith. That was easily my favorite of the prequels.
Yeah, I mean, easily the best is Revenge of the Sith, though. Like, it's not even close. Like,
but to me,
my only problem with the prequels that I still hold to, and I like the prequels. My only problem with it is that the original Star Wars, the thing that I love about it, is what Alien does. It's that new technology, but it looks really fucking
and it's
old.
Gritty and
it's
all,
kind of dingy and stuff. But like the prequels, even though it's like fucking 20 years earlier, got like these smooth ass like
chrome ships.
Yeah,
I thought that
bothered me. Yeah,
when I was in the theater watching the first movie, I saw that chrome ship, and I'm like, what is this? Like, this isn't Star Wars. I was like, I mean, to me that. Going back, that
it was
felt like Star Wars.
200 years ago. Okay, yeah, I believe that could be Star Wars 200
and
years
then
ago.
The Revenge of the Sith did that.
30 years.
Oh wait,
30 years ago?
We need to tie this into the first movie. So in the last 5 minutes, here's that old style ship that didn't match anything else we've seen this entire 9 hours or whatever from the prequels. But in my mind,
what about The Force Awakens? Like, wait, the Jedi was real? Bitch, it was only 30 years ago. Like, you're acting like it was like 2,000 years ago. The Jedi were around. What are you talking about?
Same thing in the
Like,
original. They made it sound like it was forever ago.
I don't think they watched the movies before when they make the new ones. They don't.
That was Solo's.
That was real?
Even in the original trilogy,
What?
like, you know.
Yeah, in the original trilogy, they made it sound. They made it
never
sound
believed
like
never believed in the Force. Yeah, you got Luke Skywalker next to you with Luke Skywalker next to you with a lightsaber flying around and throwing things with his mind control. You got Vader taking a weapon out of your hands. It's like, how the fuck did that work? I don't know. Maybe he just got.
They do mention that all the Jedi were wiped out in the first movie, so he stuck to that. But anyway, if you like Star Wars, as long as you're just not in it for I guess if you think the Obi-Wan Darth Maul that's the pinnacle of lightsaber, how every lightsaber battle should be, then maybe you won't like Andor, because I still think that rewatching that it's just a bunch of choreography dancing, like it doesn't grip me
to
anymore.
me. The fight between Obi-Wan and Vader will always be more epic than any of the other
and then the
dancing
Luke
around,
versus
flipping
Vader.
around shit in the other movies.
Luke
and the
versus
Luke versus
Vader,
right?
both of
They weren't
those.
doing none of that shit. But you felt the motion was swinging that goddamn lightsaber.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I think some of the original lightsaber fight is old school fighting. They're going like this. That Darth Maul fight from Phantom Menace is by far the greatest lightsaber fight, and I'll fucking die on that hill.
It looked cool at the time, but when you rewatching it,
understanding what we're saying. Yes, it looks cool, but I'm saying story-wise, emotion-wise, it wasn't anything like that. Like, it was like
Luke versus Vader in Empire is so much better.
Emotion. I don't know how we ended up debating the original.
Anyway, we're gonna get out of here.
It looked cool. It did look cool. I'll give you that.
I gotta give a shout out to EA. I gotta say this is one of the best EA games I've ever played, and I'm not gonna buy another football game probably for another 10 years. But I've been shitting on.
You just saying it because
I've been shitting on Madden.
It's like the
last 5.
Eddie Murphy joke. It's like the Eddie Murphy joke where he's talking about a hungry man eating a cracker.
Yeah.
No. You haven't had a cracker in a long time. So
I just played 2K. I had just played 2K3, and I was like, this is a really solid football game. And I've been playing, obviously, some of the older Madden games on the Super Nintendo, but 2K3 was like, man, this game really plays really well. I mean, this basically has everything I loved about the 2K series, so...
I look forward to the 2039 Game of the Year podcast where Juice announces that Madden 30.
This is 25 and it's 2025. I could count this for this year's.
I was laughing earlier because I was hating to myself on EA even when I was putting up my new shelves. And what I'd done, I stuck like a tower of Mega Drive games next to each other because they had shelves. I just wanted to rest a shelf on there for the shelf on there for a second. And then, like, one side was slightly higher. I was like, why the fuck aren't these equal? And the 2 games I were putting it off were 2 EA games. I went, fucking EA.
The case was different?
Yeah, you know why they did that shit too, right?
For some reason. I don't know why. I was like,
they're taller. They're taller and have the fucking yellow whatever this shit is.
Not
little yellow
cartridges, the actual cases.
Oh, you mean the case? Okay.
They just seem to be slightly thinner.
Yeah,
just like stupid.
They are. Yeah.
Even when it comes to shelf building, I was hating on them. Yeah.
You know, it's a little shorter than the Expedition case.
No EA games down here at the moment.
No, I don't think
it's a little bit shorter than the Expedition case. I don't know if you can tell.
Slightest.
Oh wow.
No EA games around me.
But anyway, we'll get out of here. We'll probably talk some more Star Wars after we exit the live. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
It's you next week.
Oh, we're a week and a half, and I mean, I feel no urge now. Now I have these 2 games to play. I feel no urge to pick up the Switch 2 in a week and a half. I'm gonna be honest with you. So yeah, we'll see. But all right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace. It is true, though. I'm like, man. It took me.
Actually, I got to jump out.